everybody, and welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. This is the second time we've done this intro, so please forgive me for speaking fast. But if you don't know me by now, my name is Jordan, one of the co-owners of analogstickgaming.com, and today, up to my left, we have the founder, Jeff. How are you, Jeff?
Doing quite well.
Good.
Thank you.
It's weird because we've had to have this conversation again, but we have a very special episode today because we have our great friend from the Outerhaven, Keith Mitchell, joining us. How are you, Keith?
Mental health aside, I am doing fantastic.
Great. Well, you know, we're going to go back in time a little bit, so hopefully your mental health was a bit better a few weeks ago. Because obviously there was Summer Game Fest. Apparently it's called Summer Game Fest and not Summer Games Fest, as I've been reliably informed.
You mean it's Summer Game Fest, not Games Fest?
Yes.
Oops.
So
I made a mistake.
So yeah, because for those who don't know, obviously Outerhaven is a big site. I write for them as well sometimes. Apparently Keith says I've been avoiding him recently.
You've been stalking me, man. I got you.
But, Keith, we, at the Outerhaven, we did get invited, right, to Summer Game Fest, and you went along with one of our good friends, Scott, and, I'd like to ask you, how was that whole experience?
So, getting invitation in my email, I was like, wow, holy shit, is this actually happening? Who did this? Who vouched for us to get invited to the Summer Game Fest? So that was cool. And then I hit up Scott. I was like, Scott, you're not going to Anime Expo anymore. You're going here. And he's like, oh, Keith, but yeah, you're going here. He's like, all right, well, fine, whatever. So he came along with me. I'm not a fan of flying. I'm not a big fan of flying. So it was 5.5 hours to California from here. And I got there and I got to Los Angeles. And I was like, wow, Los Angeles looks like crap. Where we were. I mean, I did go and check out some of the glamorous spots in Los Angeles, but where we were for the event was run down and whatnot. I was like, why was this event here? But being at the event was fantastic. I got to see a lot of my peers, people that I talked to on Twitter, people I talked to in email, a lot of creators and whatnot. So it was amazing. Plus, I got to meet some of the people that I talked to in PR, which is great because one of my pet peeves about this whole industry is we, in our position, we reach out to PR people and go, hey, can I get access to this game? Blah, 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 blah. And that's usually the end of our conversation. We don't interact with them anymore. And I hate that. And I always say, it really sucks that all I do is ask you for stuff. It's like you're my mom or dad. Can I have some money, please? So it was really nice to see them and talk to them about stuff other than games. So it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience. Even if it never happens again, it was like, wow, okay, check that off. We did that. Next, please.
I mean, hopefully it will happen again because I feel like you and Scott did some really good job of doing some good coverage there. But I know that you made Jeff a little jealous, and why are you jealous, Jeff?
Well, I mean, I've been a fan of Giant Bomb for quite some time. I've also been a fan of a lot of people that were kind of in that space because, like, Giant Bomb had their Giant Bomb at Night, where they bring people essentially onto a couch to kind of have a conversation. Whether that is talking about the game industry or telling a tea story for the third time. But essentially, like, when you look at in between the Giant Bomb couches, they show a feed of like all the people, and there is people from like X Funhouse and stuff like that who have made like Astro Goblin now and a whole bunch of other people and stuff. So when Jordan was like, hey, pay attention to the Giant Bomb at Night, and I'm like, well, that only means one thing. Keith's there. And then I saw you walking around, and then you showed up on the couch. So what was that experience like?
So I was scared shitless, to be honest with you. There was like all these big name people, and I'm like, clearly I don't belong here. But after I met Jeff, because I've never met Jeff before, I don't have a lot of interactions with Jeff, but he's a really cool guy, down to earth, sweet as hell. Even though he doesn't seem like it at times, he's really cool. He was just saying, just relax, just be you and just do your thing. And not just him, James from what was it, Game Rex? Was it? He was there. A lot of people were there. It was just amazing, and it was just fun. We just talked games. Eventually, I just started lighting up and started talking games and jumping in there. Yeah, it was fun. And then I almost broke my neck. I almost fell off the chair.
You did. You broke the chair.
The chair broke.
I saw that, and then Jan came out and he's like, here's another chair.
And then that chair, so they came out the first time with the chair, and that chair was broken, so they had to go back and fix that chair to bring it out again. So Jeff had said that somebody was in the chair before me, and he was trying to break the chair. So I got the chair that was already messed up. So it was interesting because I felt the chair as I was there. I was like, this chair is falling apart. There's something wrong with the chair. So eventually it gave out, and I caught myself, and I was like, yeah, so my chair's broken. So that was my first experience, and I almost died. So there you go.
Nice.
But it's fun.
Before we move on from Summer Games Fest, I do have one question for you, Keith. Of the games that you can talk about, because you've obviously seen some things that not many people have seen, what's your kind of favorite thing that you got to see?
Well, I didn't get to see everything because obviously, you know, our history of PlayStation and how they hate us. I'm going to cheat and say two games. The first one is a upcoming game from Sumo. It's called Death Sprint 66. If you're a fan of old school arcade racers like F-Zero or Wipeout, you're really going to like this one. And also, we didn't get a chance to play it, but we had a hands-on or a demonstration of it, Monster Hunter Wild. That game, it's going to blow people away. Completely blow people away. If you like that kind of game.
Hearing. Everybody was saying like even though it was hands off, like you could just feel how polished it felt and how like versatile, like you have your main weapon, and then when you get back to your little lizard mount, you have a secondary weapon there waiting for you, and then you can swap. So it gives you a lot of like kind of depth to those mechanics, and like it looks fantastic.
It totally feels like, though, in my mind as I was watching this, like you totally stole some ideas from Wild Hearts, that other Monster Hunter like game that came out from Koei Tecmo EA Origins, and it didn't last very long, but I really enjoyed it, and it feels like they took a lot of ideas from that game. So
I mean, that's what the best do, though, right? You look at other games, you take their best ideas, and you try and implement them even better, right? So that's good to see them doing that. I'm glad that even though Wild Hearts didn't last very long, it at least gave the Monster Hunter team something to think about, because there was that momentary competition where it's like, have they done something unique that we can learn from?
And that's the thing with like a lot of this type of stuff is when you don't have competition, you become stale. So that when you do have like, not that anything's going to be a legitimate threat to Monster Hunter. I think that branding is just way too ingrained into what that is. That if you have a good idea that can make your game resonate, other people are going to gravitate towards that. And like personally, it's like I would say like Wild Hearts has probably been my third favorite Monster Hunter experience, like being World and then Rise and then Wild Hearts. But then I don't care for the previous Monster Hunter games. I think they were just a little too obtuse. But Wild Hearts was fantastic, and it's a shame that it's a shame that it wasn't EA Originals, because EA then has that pull on kind of what they do with it. But it was also good that it was, because it got made.
Yeah, I think they gave up too easily. They gave up way too easily. And I know a lot of people are probably saying, Keith, you're talking about your butt. Now, look, guys, we've all seen that you can jump on the mount and the mount can glide. Now, when you play Wild Hearts, you know, you could make your own, what was it? I can't forget what the mechanics are called, but you actually could make a glider, and you could, glide places. And you had the hooks that you can just jump off and jump on the mount creatures and stuff. So there's definitely a lot of DNA from in there. And Capcom's not going to come out and say, yeah, we copied it. But for those who played that game, you would know that, there's stuff that was in that game in this game now. But that's great.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
For sure. Is it bad that when I asked this question, I was expecting Keith to say something like Phantom Blade Zero, because I feel like that game's right up Keith's
That's what I was waiting for.
So I like what I played of it, but when you said the one game, and I said no, I have to cheat and say two, that's because, again, Monster Hunter World blew me away. Literally blew me away. Everything that I saw in that presentation blew me away. But also the fact that Death Sprint 66 is sort of it's not an indie game, but it feels like it is an indie game. And the developer that I talked to was very passionate about his project and what he was doing with it. And it was like, wow, this definitely deserves more attention than it actually is getting. Phantom Blade Zero is going to get its attention.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I like to go and say, hey, these are the smaller games that people need to pay attention to. And this game is definitely something that people should play.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of people at the event that also went, wow, this game blows my mind.
That's good. I like to hear those kind of stories because me and Jeff talk about it all the time where something's happened to gaming in the last 5 years or so where these smaller games are now starting to get ignored again after having a moment of like real renaissance, and the double A's and the premium indies kind of became this big thing for a while, and now everybody only wants AAA games again, and I don't really get where that's come from.
I mean, that's
Well,
a
hell,
different discussion, but that's crazy. No, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, like we'll get to our lists based on like the topic and stuff, but I mean like I've got a game on my list that is like incredibly tiny, made by a very small team, and barely anybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
Yeah, and of course, for those that don't know, if you haven't read the headline of this episode, our main topic today is our kind of current top 5 at this point in the year, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about things that are coming up later in the year that might make our list by the end of the year. But, of course, before that, as always, we have some news stories to go through. So, Jeff, why don't we start getting to the news here?
Sure. It's not going to tackle them in any particular order. So Nintendo won't reveal who is developing its just announced Mario and Luigi revival, but claims that some of the series' original developers are involved. The story comes to us from Andy Robinson at VGC. Mario and Luigi Brothership is the first new entry in the Mario and Luigi series in almost 9 years. One of the biggest questions from fans is who's developing it? This is since the original developer Alpha Dream went bankrupt in 2019. Asked about who is making the game, a Nintendo rep told GameFile on Saturday some of the original developers who worked on the franchise are involved in the development of Mario and Luigi Brothership. For more information about the developers, please stay tuned to the game's credits at release. Um, this is kind of Nintendo's thing. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't announce who was the developer or even who was the voice on Mario Wonder. They're doing the exact same thing with there's some of their other games. There's another one that they talked about where they wouldn't share who the developer or the new Legend of Zelda, I think, was the one that they were talking about, or who's the one that Ilka is working on.
Not familiar.
There's the Nintendo does this all the time, where they don't share who the developer is, and they're like, stay tuned until like the credits of the game, which is weird because that information always comes out before the public has their hands on it, so it's never like a surprise.
Do you know what? Do you know
But
what I think it is though? I think it's because Nintendo want you to think that every game that is exclusive to their platform is made by them. Like they want the credit for the game.
I mean, that's not
Jeff
always
Grubb
true.
Jeff Grubb brought up a good point, and that is that Nintendo does this to avoid those teams getting any type of social media flack or any type of discussion, like negative discussion around them.
Which is the good part of the strategy, for sure.
Yeah, like it's just sort of weird, like not announcing who the Mario voice was, even though it was leaked well before the game came out. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that Nintendo is so secretive around that. But what I like about this, especially with the Mario and Luigi Brothership, is that members of Alpha Dream are involved in making this game, because to me it was like Nintendo could have brought Alpha Dream in instead of going bankrupt to develop this game, because obviously this game has been in development for a couple of years. Nintendo, like, this game could very well have been completed last year. Nintendo holds on to games for a very long time to kind of slot them into a particular window, because like the Fire Emblem remake apparently has been done for like over like a year and a half or something, and we still haven't seen it. And again, all that's rumored, but I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of interesting because like they just revealed who the developer was for Luigi Mansion 2 remake, Um, so it's sort of a weird type of thing of like
Yes.
keeping that hush hush for
I mean, I
kind
can
of no
understand
reason.
it from different perspectives. It's just one of those weird things where because nobody else does it, it's sort of like, what really is the point? You're not really. It's not something that makes a huge difference, I feel like. But, Nintendo will always be Nintendo, and, hopefully these games will be great, because they usually are.
Honestly, I don't really think, and this is just me being, the voice of, you guys need to stop asking for so much information. Does it really bother you? Does it really matter who's developing this game? At the end of the day, if the game plays well and it does good,
Yeah.
does it matter who's developing the game? I mean, we've had so many games come out of nowhere that are like, wow, this developer made this game. Who's this developer? I mean, like the people that did Lies of P, like
Yeah.
Lies of P came out to be a fantastic game. You're like, this team developed this game? I've never heard of this team before.
And I think
it doesn't matter.
And I think you're absolutely right as well, because the other thing is, when you hear that a game is being made by a team that you've never heard of before, or it's their first game, you always automatically have different expectations for the game.
Exactly.
Because of that, as a result. So
it also depends on whether the team is like controversial. Whether or not they are like known, known people or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That have had issues with
absolutely. Speaking of controversy, can we please get the terrible news from this week out of the way?
Do we have to?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I have tried not to talk about this, but it's not my show, so let's go.
I feel like it's unavoidable, right?
Yeah, this is just kind of been a big one here. I'll kind of skim around some of it. So YouTube, so in the most recent aspect of this story is YouTube has demonetized Dr. Disrespect's channel following allegations he was banned from Twitch for sending messages to a minor. This comes to us from Chris Scullion at VGC. In a statement made to Kotaku, a YouTube spokesperson confirmed that Biam, so it's Guy Biam, I think is his name, was no longer able to make money from his YouTube videos and suspended his channel from a YouTube partnership program. This is also on top of that. What have we got here? Pearl Beach has ended his partnership with Beam as well too. Midnight Society, the studio that was co-founded from him, has cut their ties with him as well too. He ended up releasing a statement essentially on Tuesday,
which was basically a nothing statement. Can I just say before we like?
Yeah. So like, all right. So basically, what had happened here is that what have we got here? So he released a lengthy statement on Tuesday in which he confirmed that he did send private messages to a minor on Twitch and that they sometimes leaned too much into the direction of being inappropriate, but claimed that there were no real intentions behind these messages. However, it was then mentioned recently, I'm trying to bring up here, there was no confusion, the former Twitch employee said. Messages sent after this was acknowledged that were no less graphic and sexually explicit nature than before. And I think more than categorization of leading too much into the direction of being inappropriate might indicate. So the whole thing is Dr. Disrespect basically was essentially sexting a minor. Now, a lot of stuff is allegations, like in terms of like allegedly and all that kind of stuff, but more proof has kind of come out that this was the case. And he even admitted to these conversations, like he could have denied it, he could have done everything, but basically he just flat out acknowledged that this was the case. And a lot of people
how many years though?
Like,
look at this. It took how many? 4 years?
Yeah, because apparently no one could speak about it for 4 years, right? Because they settled, so there was an NDA, and it's like,
yeah, and I mean, this is on top of him also like recording in a bathroom years ago.
That right there, before anything else, that should have been the thing that took him down. Nothing. You recorded minors, anybody going into a bathroom, and that's, excuse me if I'm wrong, is that not a federal offense?
Like, I think so. Dude,
yeah. And nothing happened to him.
Yeah, and with Twitch, with this whole situation that's going on right now, it's like, did Twitch essentially cover up a crime? Like a lot of people are kind of coming to this situation where, okay, there are multiple red flags here. the texting a minor, sure, that is the biggest thing right there. But in terms of how this was handled, a lot of people are still confused about like what is the proper discourse of like what did Twitch do? What did they cover up? What was this whole situation basically about? But he publicly admitted, and like what the thing that I find hilarious about this is when those allegations first came out and he had admitted lightly to certain things, there were dude bros in his comments going like, yeah, we
Oh
got
my
your back,
gosh.
Dr. Disrespect. And then he admitted to everything and like, we got your shit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like,
But people are crazy. This is the thing. Like some.
No. Let's be honest, Jordan.
Go
Just
on.
say what you mean to say. Say it. People are stupid.
Yeah.
If you
go.
won't say it, I'll
Like,
say it. They are stupid. You cannot back someone who you know is doing dirty stuff. You mean to tell me you've been in his circle for years and you don't know what he did? I'm pretty sure he opened his mouth and talked to his elite clique and said, I did this.
And this is the exact same mentality behind Trump supporters where they're like,
Oh my God,
us.
please
Like,
don't. Oh my God.
I got your back. Like that's the same type of mentality where people are
Because
like,
this is
one
the
of us.
thing, right?
Oh my God.
So I used to actually follow Dr. Disrespect on Twitter. You know, I would watch. In the past, I would watch the occasional stream, not so much recently. But as soon as I heard anything about this, it was like, no, bye. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've never watched more. Like the only time I've ever seen him talk is in like a clip about news about some controversy. I've never watched his content. Not even remotely glanced at it. Anytime I've seen him on anything, like I think he was on a Call of Duty commercial or something, I was like, no.
I guess my biggest question with this whole situation is, what the hell happens now? Because he's admitted it, right? And yes,
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But
Well,
he's
here's
admitted it, and it was a crime. So how can nothing happen?
Jordan, this is how it works, though. He fucked up. He did something really, really bad. He's going to release like an apology video or apology JPEG. He's going to come back and have the biggest stream that he's ever had and make more money than he's ever had. This is a cycle of what happens.
Instead of being in jail because he did something with a minor.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't
like,
get it.
Look at all those people that were like selling like Team Fortress skins and stuff and the lottery things and stuff like that got caught up in that whole thing like a decade ago. They came back and did their biggest shit.
I really don't get it. It disgusts me, quite frankly, that people can do this kind of thing and they're just above the law, apparently.
What you're not understanding, unfortunately, and it sucks, is the higher you are on the totem pole, the more well-known you are, you can do no wrong. Look at Trump. Oh, my God, look at Trump, like you just mentioned. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference. If you do something that's so horrendous and you know you should be penalized for this, you should be prosecuted for this.
Yeah.
Disappear for a while. Say you're sorry. People will forgive you. It doesn't make a difference. Not to mention that you should be in jail right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the more like, I guess, criminal you are, just this makes your popularity soar because you have so many people that are like dudes like me. You know, like it's that mentality where they feel that they can like identify with these people more now. Because it's like, you know, you'll see a celebrity at a supermarket. They're like, oh, dude's just like me. Like you suddenly become more attached to that particular type of ideal. And that's just what's happening here. And that's what happens all the time. It's just this vicious cycle of like, you know, the rich getting richer. It's that type of thing.
It's disgusting. And you know,
it's more than disgusting.
Talking of other companies and things that people haven't liked in the past, Konami, apparently people really didn't like them back in the day, but they maybe...
We loved Konami back in the day. We loved them. Define back in the day.
Around Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay, we loved them before that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But they might be turning their reputation around slightly, and some of the things they've said recently might be helping with that.
Well, I mean, Konami basically within the last 2 years discovered that, shit, we can make video games and not just pachinko machines. Holy fuck, let's get on that.
We can do things without Kojima. Holy crap, we can do this, guys.
We have franchises, like, dear Lord. Yeah, so let's jump into this here before we kill Jordan. Konami's Metal Gear series producer has said that it would be the dream for him for the company to work with Hideo Kojima from their original development staff. Comes to us from Andy Robinson at BGC. Noriaki or Okamura made a comment during a Japanese live stream on Friday with the caveat that he wasn't assuming Kojima and his former colleagues would necessarily feel the same way. Konami split from Kojima in 2015 following a mysterious falling out following the conclusion of Metal Gear Solid 5, which saw that game abruptly finished with a last chapter that seems very, very rushed and cut. While Kojima still regularly talks about Metal Gear Solid, he no longer has any control over the property. However, it would appear that tensions between the pair may have cooled in the years since. Asked if there was any chance of the original staff members working on Metal Gear Solid again during Friday's live stream, Konami producer Okamura replied, "It's not my place to answer on behalf of anyone outside the company or to guess how they might feel about it. But just speaking for myself personally, I'd like nothing better than to work with Kojima and the rest of the team again. If that could happen, it would be the dream. But people have moved on to new things and new commitments, so that's just our current reality. We can't take for granted that everyone would work with us again, or let ourselves be completely dependent on them." This is the story definitely goes on more, so definitely do check it out. But the basis is essentially is that there are people at Konami that are very still kind of in awe of Kojima. Like, they understand like his importance to kind of what they've got. I mean, Metal Gear Solid Delta looks fantastic, and the fact that it is a one-to-one recreation of Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater definitely shows that they still do want to honor their respect, or it may mean that they don't have the credibility to alter it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know they're recording new voice lines so that the button prompts and tutorials make sense,
Yeah.
so that a voice isn't telling you to press the X button when it's, should be
I
something
will
else.
say though,
But
if we ever get an announcement of Kojima working on a Metal Gear again, I think people are going to lose their minds.
Do you think that's going to be a possibility? I mean,
No.
a remote possibility. I don't think.
I don't.
Kojima was
so.
very adamant that he was done with them. He was very upset.
I mean, he didn't even want to make Metal Gear Solid 4 back in the day. So,
yeah,
you know.
But here's the nail in that coffin. Unfortunately, is their announcement with PlayStation of him making another stealth action game.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's going to happen, because, like, what? He's going to work on Metal Gear in like 12 years.
And he's also now got his horror game with Xbox as well, So it's like,
whatever that game is.
He's got his horror game. He's got his stealth action
simulator.
Yeah. But I'm really interested to see what happens with Konami over the coming years, because, they do have some IPs that people really care about. And if they can recreate these things with love and respect and all that sort of stuff,
well,
who knows?
Like, Konami could essentially undo so much goodwill if they just made one particular game with one particular developer. If they were ever to get FromSoft to work on Castlevania, that would be one of the greatest games of all time.
That does sound good. But I mean, there's just so many things, so many ways they can go. Castlevania obviously is their biggest, I would argue even bigger than Metal Gear. Contra, they recently came out and did a game with my brain's not working right now. Who was that? Who did they work with?
Well, they worked with the people from Vampire Survivors to do Contra thing.
They did that, but there was a recent Contra game, Contra Galuga. God, who was that with? Brain's not working right now. Why is my brain not working? It's too early. This podcast is way too early. Way forward. I mean, it could have been better, but it wasn't a bad game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted them to do. This podcast is too early. It's 3:30 in the afternoon for me.
It's 10:36 for me. And it's not Tuesday.
It's 8:30 for Jeff. So,
But they did this. Way forward. It wasn't a bad game. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. I would have rather them worked with the team that gave us Blazing Chrome, the indie developer. They gave us that game a couple years ago, and that was like, wow, this is basically Contra, but better. They could have did that, but they have so many different IPs. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The last Contra game I played was the one with that panda, and it was really bad.
Ooh. Yeah, you need to go play Operation Galuga. It's really good,
Yeah.
very good. If you can get past the graphics, they're not hand drawn, which is everybody's biggest issue with the game. They're not sprites. Yeah, it's a good game. But yeah, getting back to Climb, they've got a lot of stuff. They also came out with the Rocket Knight collection. If you've never played Rocket Knight, people, go play Rocket Knight.
I have no idea what
Great
that
game.
is. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
you
Yeah,
serious?
I saw Mike Minotti, I think, playing through that. 'Cause that's like the what is it, like a raft or something in a rocket?
Yeah,
suit or
I have
something?
no idea what
Yeah.
that even is.
What?
so-
You gotta go play that, man. That was one of Konami's biggest hits back during the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 days. Amazing game.
Fair.
Easy
Well,
game.
Jeff, you brought up one of Keith's favorite developers from Software just now, and they've obviously had some DLC, which we'll talk a bit more about later on. But they have updated that DLC, correct?
Yeah. So they let's see here. From Software has released an Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree patch that's made the game easier. This comes to us from Tom Ivan at EGC. The expansion includes a new leveling system based on the Scadutree fragments, or whatever you want to call them. I've been calling them Scooby Snacks lately. In-game items found around the world that are used to increase a character's ability to deal damage and negate damage. This is basically a leveling system that works on top of the current leveling system, but only within the content of the DLC. Following complaints from some members of the community that the DLC is too difficult, which saw kind of not review bombing on Steam, but very similar. Calibration update 1.12.2 revises the attack and damage negation curve scaling on the Scadutree. I can't even say the thing. Scadutree blessing. Attack and damage negation abilities have been raised for the first half of blessing enhancements. The second half is now more gradual, and the final level of blessing enhancements have been also slightly increased. So you're mainly going to notice this during the first half of the game. Like I'm already past that because I'm a little bit past Mesmer. So I know I'm kind of in the home stretch. It kind of in regards to that stuff, but this does kind of like go almost against Miyazaki's words before, saying that if they were to adjust the difficulty in the game, like it would essentially break it. But I don't know how different it feels essentially than what it was before. I haven't watched any footage in regards to comparisons, but I think a lot of the reason that a lot of people, I think a lot of
It
people
doesn't change much. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I just started another play the other day. No, it does not. It does not change much. I know people are reading into it going, "Oh, they make the game easier." No, they didn't. No, they did not.
Well, I think a lot of people were finding it like more difficult than the original base DLC because they weren't exploring to find those Scadutree blessings and stuff like that, which essentially is your leveling system. Like for me, I still find this DLC harder than the base game.
Oh, it is.
But it could just be, because like for me, it's like I'm not a FromSoft player. Like Elden Ring's the first FromSoft game I beat. I've got very far in Bloodborne.
I've never beat a FromSoft game, but I just wish that they had good co-op, and then I would go and beat all of them.
Yeah,
oh my God, yes.
That co-op mod for PC,
it's garbage.
Man,
this is garbage.
I wish that it came to consoles because because like with me and Jordan playing, like we would get to a door and then Jordan couldn't pass it, and then I'd have to disconnect from him, walk across the threshold, and then re-invite him. Like
it was
that was
so
the
weird.
That was the only reason I did not give that game a 10. That co-op was so piss poor that I.
And then you have Lords of the Fallen, which I haven't started yet, but I want to play because apparently the co-op's amazing. Yeah,
if we're going to talk about amazing co-op, we don't need to go any further than Remnant 2.
True.
Remnant 2's co-op is amazing.
Remnant
drop in, drop out, whatever.
Yeah,
that's how it was with Lords of the Fallen. Like I went through the bulk of that game with co-op without any disruptions. Like it was just perfect.
Yeah, I think when Remnant came out, it changed the game, and then people were like, "We need to do like this." And From Software is like, we don't care."
From Software is basically the PlayStation. They are stuck in the past.
But I do want to. I
it
do
could
want
be
to.
worse. They could be Nintendo and have an app for their co-op.
Oh no! Don't say that. But I do want to. I do want to just say a little bit about the game itself because I've been playing it a lot. Um, I know a lot of people are upset that they have supposedly made the game easier. But it depends on a couple of things. One, you got to go out and find those darn things, and a lot of people aren't big on exploration. And even then, it still doesn't make what makes the game hard beneficial. I mean, like bosses will still smash you, smoke you, kill you, one shot you, and there are mobs in the game that will still smash you, hurt you, one shot you. So
Oh
hey,
god,
they gave you.
that first enemy you encounter with the blades and stuff that spins
Oh my
all
god,
around and
he
stuff
doesn't
like that.
stop. He doesn't stop. He still does it.
Oh
He still kicks my
god.
butt. I'm like 220 something now. You know, beating the game, beating the DLC, came back in, and that guy still gives me issues because he does so much damage. He's so fast. Like, homie, how much stamina do you have? Can you stop? Oh, and he has a
Yeah.
grab too. Fantastic. Yes.
Like if they're on the ground, I just use that like sword ability from the sword that you get from beating the first game and stuff with that glowing it's almost like a forest fire because it just goes everywhere and I just spam that and yeah. That's
Fair.
There are Elden Ring Souls like streamers that stream the game and are still regularly getting their butts kicked. It's just I'm like, wow, guys, this game is not easier. You may think so. They may give you the pretense that it's easier. It is not easier. Sorry, but go play the game. It's amazing.
I'm just waiting for that one streamer girl who plays with a Dance Dance Revolution mat to beat the final boss in Shadow of the Erdtree on the dance mat. That's what I'm waiting for.
That woman is phenomenal. I give her nothing but the props. I mean, even though I go back,
playing,
yeah,
because she did co-op.
I go back and I go, well, she's fought these guys. She's battled these guys billions of times to get it done perfect. But it doesn't diminish the fact that she still did it. She still did it.
Yeah.
Like you get these people to go, I'm one hitting the boss, or I'm no hit boss. But you died how many times? We can see the stuff on the boss ground. So you've died a lot of times. So don't act like you've never gotten hit before because you had. You had to have learned the pattern. I will never attempt to do those because they're false. But if you come back and show me that you beat the game with a Dance Dance Revolution pad with your eyes closed behind your back, I'm like,
with the Guitar Hero controller in one hand.
You win. You win the game. You win the game.
Yeah.
Fair.
No,
I can't do that.
Like this patch essentially is just kind of like a balancing thing. Like it doesn't add any like
it just changes the balancing slightly. That's all it is.
I would even wager that From Software released this patch and did nothing to it, and just like we'll let everybody think that it got easier. See what happens. That's a placebo.
Yeah, it's like
we'll see what happens.
It's a placebo effect. Yeah.
I beat the game thanks to this patch. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, I beat the game pre-patch. Get good.
Well,
oh my God.
one day people might be playing this game on the cloud though, right? Because apparently cloud gaming's taking off and Amazon and Xbox are now in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own thoughts about the cloud, but
is it ever going to be a thing, Keith?
It will, and it is, and it definitely is. And it's not to say that the cloud is bad. I have no issues with the cloud. It's just when you have certain games that are so input latency dependent that like you're never going to play a fighting game on the cloud. You're never going to play a fighting game competitively in the cloud. You're just not going to do that.
I don't know how true this is because I haven't tried it myself, but I have heard that GeForce Now effectively matches console latency for input.
Almost.
So if
it's damn good.
That's what I mean. So if we're getting that close already, there might be a time where you can do competitive play through the cloud.
Yeah,
but you got to think about that. That's a perfect storm. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, like I was just gonna say, like, kind of leaning on your topic there, was like, sure, people could definitely play versus on like Street Fighter 6 or something like that with GeForce Now or whatever. But in terms of like bringing that type of experience to the FGC, never gonna happen. It'll
Mm-mm.
always be local as much as they can because they don't want latency disrupting a match. You don't want like a victory being determined just because of something, which is why like rollback netcode is like
Of
absolutely crucial
course. Hmm.
to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So I don't think you're ever going to have cloud streaming become that way of experiencing a game for
For a competitive.
competition's sake.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But maybe this recent Xbox and Amazon partnership will bring something along with it, right? Because apparently xCloud is going to be on Amazon Fire devices now. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Yeah, so Chris Scullion reports from BGC that Xbox and Amazon are teaming up to bring Game Pass Ultimate streaming to Amazon Fire TV devices. As announced on the official Xbox Wire blog, Game Pass Ultimate members in over 24 countries will soon be able to download an Xbox app on Fire Stick TV and Fire Stick 4K Max devices. Players with either of these devices and a Bluetooth-enabled wireless controller will be able to access the Xbox streaming library through an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership. Players will have to install and launch the app from their Fire TV device, sign in with their Microsoft account, sign up for Game Pass Ultimate if they haven't already, and connect their controller to play. Xbox notes that Bluetooth controllers required doesn't have to be an Xbox controllers, and in fact, players who have a PlayStation 4 DualSense, PlayStation DualSense and DualShock 4 controller will be able to use that instead. In theory, this means that people with a compatible controller and a fast enough internet access will be able to play Series X and X games via Game Pass for the price of a Fire TV Stick 4K, which is approximately $49.99 US, and a Game Pass Ultimate subscription rather than purchasing an Xbox Series console. This is kind of what Xbox has been kind of shooting for, like for
Mm-hmm.
the longest time.
And
And I think
they were
once we
gonna
get to that
do
full library being
orig-
streamed, not just Game
originally
Pass, that'll expand it
originally
even
they were
more.
gonna do their own cloud streaming box as well, right? And that got
Yeah.
cancelled
Yeah.
because apparently they couldn't get it to the price point they wanted. And now I understand it because it's like, why would you do that when you can make this partnership with Amazon and people can now get
Yeah,
in for so cheap? It's
it's the same.
crazy.
It's the same reason why Xbox never kind of went with VR is because why shoulder that cost? Like honestly, they could have went to like Meta or something saying, "Hey, can you make this Xbox compatible?" And then boom, they've got a headset. Same with like
Hmm.
handhelds. Why they haven't really at this point tackled a handheld because like honestly, this is a handheld.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the only
Like I already
reason
have it. They don't
and
have
the
to
only
shoulder
reason
the
that they
cost.
probably are going to do it now is because there's already the demand for it. Like people have said we want it. You know what I mean? There's the conversation
There's
out
no
there of,
demand.
you don't
There's
think
no
so?
demand for an Xbox handheld. No. These people, I love you guys, but you guys are smoking crack. There are too many.
Yeah,
There are too many handhelds on the market right now. It's more feasible for Xbox to just make an application that lets people play their Xbox games. I mean, Steam Deck is fantastic. Streaming from the cloud, done. ROG Ally, done. Legion Go, done. We've got hundreds
well,
of other ones out there now.
Hmm.
yeah, and I know like Phil kind of answered a question that IGN had posed saying, if this was real, would it be cloud-based or native-based? And Phil was like, if we were to theoretically make a handheld, native would be the way to go. And I think that's one thing that's kind of crucial as well, because you get some of these devices that only play those games on the cloud. They don't actually
Yeah.
install the games,
Yeah.
or some of them. Um,
Hmm.
but I think, Keith, I think you're right. I think the demand is very loud, but very small.
Hmm.
So I think you get a lot of people where they're like, yeah, we would totally support this, but really, how many people does that mean? Because like
Exactly.
I
it,
think
it
I
could
th-
be 1.5 million, but they would need at least 20 million people to
I
make
think
those
I
handhelds
think
worth
the
it.
thing is, it's almost like Steam Deck, right? Where Steam Deck is moderately successful, but when you look at it, it's probably sold like 5 million units. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not actually huge. It's just
Yeah.
that it has a very dedicated audience of people.
Yeah, that's like people wanting a PlayStation Vita 2. I'm like,
Mm.
why? So that Sony can kill it again?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah. It's
I just
so
think
I don't know. Like,
I
go
just
on.
think that people are also thinking about the technical ramifications of this as well. I mean, okay, great. Let's go off what Jeff just said. Okay. Um, maybe they bring out one and it's local, so it won't be based on cloud. Okay, great. So how big of a hard drive, solid state drive, do I need in my machine? A 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte? Okay, buddy, 2 terabytes, you're talking about $100+, maybe more, depending on which one you buy. 4 terabytes, $200 to $300. Does it have the space? Is it going to use full size SSDs, small SSDs? Because those are more expensive. It's all digital now, so you gotta fight the people to go, well, I don't like digital games. Well, how are you gonna put a disc on this? Come on, guys. Come on. It's not feasible. Just go buy something. Xbox, make an application for your Steam Deck. Make an application for your ROG Ally. Make an application for, again, the countless other ones that are out there. Let them download from the cloud and be done.
I think that's the thing, right? Is because that's what you're talking about, Keith, is for them to do a device that people would actually want, the problem they'd run into is that device would cost too much money, and that would then make those people not want it because of the cost.
Here's the thing, though. What if the next Xbox is literally just a Switch?
Don't do that.
I have wondered it.
Don't do that.
They're converting their architecture to ARM, isn't it? Right, which is essentially
that's what we've heard. Right? Yeah, that's what we've heard.
Well, we don't. So I've been going back and forth on the whole ARM thing, not just because of Xbox, but also ARM and the laptops and whatnot.
Yes.
So there's a big back and forth between ARM and x86, and of course also the transition layer to run x86 on ARM and back and forth. I don't think they're there. Honestly, I don't think they would make an Xbox with ARM. They're not there right now on their laptops. The performance, it's literally not there.
Yep.
Qualcomm, who is making their chips right now for Microsoft, is not there. They are not a gaming laptop. The chipset is not there. The NPU is not ready for gaming. It is not there for high intensity graphics. And for them to make an Xbox using this is no. Don't even think about it. Keep doing what you're doing. You're not ready. You're not ready, Microsoft. Not yet.
Yeah. I mean, I always make the point to you, Keith, of they're not ready based on what we know, but they know more than we do. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, when the developer of your chipset comes out and says, look, they're not meant for gaming.
No, absolutely. But what I mean is Microsoft, they're probably not doing this next-gen thing for at least another 2 years, right? And
until Microsoft shows me something about next gen, they're just blowing smoke up our asses.
I agree with that. Until you see it, there's no reason to believe it. But I do find that there's been some really interesting rumors from this ARM thing, from the other thing that apparently they're going to do 2 SKUs this time, and one is going to be almost like a Switch. Like that was one of the reports, was that one was going to be a plug and play with a dock thing, and the other one was just going to be like a solid, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's interesting because if they do something that is like a Switch, hypothetically, I just wonder how expensive that would have to be to hit the level they would want it to hit.
I would want to know how you're going to put all that power in that chipset inside a small console.
Yeah.
Like the only reason that I could see Xbox wanting to go to a small handheld for their next console, like a hybrid or anything, is because handhelds are immensely successful in Japan, and that is a market they don't have.
And they probably never will. That's the problem.
You know what's also funny about Japan? They're also big. They're also, the PC gaming side is getting massively.
It is
massively big over there. How about you just make a gaming PC?
I mean, that's
marketed Xbox PC. Put it over there.
Mean, that was the other report, right? Was that one of the things they were looking at was, let's essentially do a console that also supports Steam and Epic and all this other stuff. And it's like, for me, that actually makes more sense. And for me, that is where they can get back some of the market share that they've lost over the years. Because if you say to people, yeah, we're the same price as the PlayStation 6, but we can run literally every game, and you can use whatever store you want to buy the games. You don't even have to buy them directly from us. Like, that is going to sell the machine to people.
You know what that sounds like to me right there, Jordan, without going any further? That sounds like GeForce Now.
It does, right? It does. It really
Literally does. Sounds like GeForce Now, guys. Think about that.
That's true. That is very, very true. So, we do have, I believe, one more news story, which I'm quite excited about. I don't know about you, Jeff, and I don't know about you, Keith, but
depends on what it is.
This
what
one excites me. What is it, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm just going to cancel one story just for time. Yeah, so basically, what we got here, and that is, according to Chris Scullion at BGC, a number of Assassin's Creed remakes are planned, according to Ubisoft CEO. In an interview on the Ubisoft website, I can never pronounce his name, Guillermo, was asked what Assassin's Creed players can expect from the series in the future. Guillermo replied that the series would see a variety of games in the coming years, including numerous remakes. Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich. Secondly, to answer your question, there will be plenty of experience variety. The goal is to have Assassin's Creed games come out more regularly, but not for it to be the same experience every year. There are a lot of good things to come, including Assassin's Creed Hex, which we've announced, which is going to be a very different game from Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're going to surprise people, I think. I'm all for remakes. My biggest thing with the anything prior to Black Flag, because for me, Black Flag was the first Assassin's Creed game that I thought was playable, was like its reliance on the future stuff. Because like for me, I just kind of wish it was always a period piece, which is why I like the later ones, because they kind of compartmentalize that stuff into smaller experiences as opposed to being big sweeping things. But I mean, if honestly, I could see them remaking like 1, 2, and probably Brotherhood.
So I think, as you know, I've played every Assassin's Creed game. I love Assassin's Creed. I am more of a traditional Assassin's Creed fan than the RPG style they've had in recent years, but I still enjoy those games as well. And I think this is really clever, because one of the things they spoke about there was, we want to have more Assassin's Creed games again, but not for them to be the same kind of game every time, right? And I think what they're going to do is kind of something they alluded to last year when they brought out Mirage, which is, I can see them doing an every year release again, but 1 year you'll get an RPG type, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then 1 year you'll get a more traditional type, like a Mirage, and they're probably going to use the remakes to fill those gaps for a while until they figure out what the new traditional Assassin's Creed can be, right? So I actually think they'll probably remake Black Flag first, because that was the most popular one in terms of overall penetration for the traditional style. I think they'll do Black Flag first. Then I think they almost have to do the Ezio trilogy, which is 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, just because of what that trilogy means to the franchise as a whole. Like, the franchise wouldn't be what it is without that trilogy of games. But for me, the most exciting one would be the original Assassin's Creed, because to see that remade, because that was the baseline, right? That was the idea. It was almost like a tech demo for what the series would become. But to see that fully fleshed out and have more content in it and all this kind of stuff would be amazing. Like, I would love to see that. Keith, how do you feel about Assassin's Creed?
I am not a big fan of Assassin's Creed. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's not that I don't like the series. I've only played a
Best
handful
one.
of the games.
Okay, that's interesting. I would. Which ones have you played out of interest?
Valhalla, which I really enjoyed. Black Flag. 3. I definitely remember playing 3 because I got a nice tin case for it, or still book case for it, which I still have. I think that's actually it.
So you've
But
played...
I am looking forward to playing the next one.
Nice, yeah. You've played some good ones. Obviously we've got Shadows coming up. I'm really...
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had gotten that. Those were all sold out. I was pissed off.
So, little fun side story here. I have, well, up until Mirage last year, that's the only one I didn't get. I have every statue of every Assassin's Creed game ever released. So
It's weird. Like, I'm like, again, like Black Flag is when I thought the series got good. I own every single game except for Rogue.
wow, okay.
Because I got them used cheap.
Rogue is a pretty good game as well. Like, if you liked Black Flag, Rogue is basically more Black Flag. So I would recommend trying it out.
But no, it's. I mean, I honestly, I think if they were going to remake the first one, I think Bordeaux is the team to do it. The guys behind Mirage, I think they'll remake the first one.
Yes.
I think you'll have a different team.
I mean, they already have that ground built there, right? Like Mirage is the closest to the first one we've had in quite some time. So yeah, but I'm really interested to see still, as we're on the subject of Assassin's Creed. Obviously, we have Shadows coming up later in the year.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am
so
because I've waited so long for Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan. Like, I just can't wait to see what they do.
And my thing is, the damn with the controversy. I don't even care if they even put either one of those categories there. Don't care. It's just the fact that we are finally in Japan.
I agree.
This is what I wanted forever. This is it. I'm not going to say I don't like the characters. I really do. And you know how I feel about giving the middle finger to people.
Yes.
But it's in Japan. Yes. So the only thing I want now is a Assassin's Creed in space.
Oh, wow.
So some futuristic setting. Let's go forward instead of
Creed,
backwards.
New Jersey.
No, New Jersey. No.
Oh God. Right. Well,
you get Assassin's Creed New York, and then you have a whole bunch of, hey, I'm walking here. That'd be so fun.
we got Grand Theft Auto for that. We're good with that.
Yeah.
Before we speak about what's coming up in the rest of the year, I guess we should finally get to our main topic, which is our top 5's for this first half of the year.
Man.
I don't know if we have them in order. Keith, have you actually put yours in an order?
No.
Okay, try and do that.
No, I did actually. All right, I put it in order. You ready?
Okay, go on then, Keith.
Elden Ring. So
Elden Ring for Keith. Elden Ring DLC is currently Keith's game of the year.
Oh my god, it is. Well, it literally is right now.
Well, I think what we do is we'll kind of like each do one at a time.
Yeah, I agree.
And kind of go through that. I will say in terms of like Elden Ring and stuff like that, we'll
get to that.
Keep the majority of that discussion going to like what we've been playing, because that's going to be a kind of a lengthy
game.
Thing.
So we'll have that at the end.
Yeah, so I think just basically kind of like a brief discussion about like one game at a time.
So what is your number 5 then, Jeff?
Let's bring up a list. All right. So my number 5, I was kind of coming and hawing on this because like it I don't generally go by my scores. I go kind of based off like my impressions and stuff. So it could have been anything from Dragon's Dogma 2 to Hellblade 2 to even Hypercharge on Box, stuff like that. But my number 5 so far, and this could change, I'm putting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This game was fun. Like, I loved Remake. I think Rebirth does some things better, even though I think its open world feels a little too bloated. But in terms of like its pacing, its action, its combat, and again, like its utilizing of the characters, I think in ways that deepen like how memorable those moments and those characters can be. I think Rebirth is fantastic. It's also a team that is utilizing Unreal Engine extremely well, because generally Unreal Engine's not great for open world games without a lot of pop in, but that team kind of pulled it off. I think it's an absolutely fantastic game. And it's definitely not what Square Enix was saying, where like you can jump in on this one and have no problem following along. Like, that was complete bullshit. But no, it's fantastic. It's beloved for all the right reasons. I think it ends extremely cool with like a lot even more questions
Mhm.
in the original because again, it's diverting from the script considerably. With
Yeah.
all sorts of timeline kind of
I mean,
shenanigans, but
as you know,
very
I
good.
haven't finished the game, but I have played a good chunk of it. I enjoy
Yeah.
it, but I think that open world design they have there just really put me off. So at the moment, that game doesn't make my top 5, but I
Yeah.
will go back and finish it before the end of the year. So it'll be interesting to see if that sort of makes it into my final top 10 that we'll do at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Um,
like there's one game I still have yet to beat that's in my honorable mentions that we'll cover after our top 5 that could, if it starts to pick up a bit.
yeah, definitely. So Keith, I'm gonna ask you now, what is your number 5 if you had to put them in order right now?
Helldivers 2.
Okay, I own Helldivers 2. I have yet to play it though.
I haven't bought it. I have yet to play it because like I don't want to play it on PC because I don't have a PC that's going to adequately run it, and I don't have it on PlayStation because I don't have PlayStation Plus, so therefore I can't even play it.
I've
So,
played a lot of it when it first came out. I've slowly, what's the word I'm looking for? I've slowly stopped playing the game, just because it doesn't really excite me as it did originally. I'm waiting for that new fresh content, that new alien race to come to the game. Then I'll pick back into it. But as it is right now, playing against the same ones over and over and over and over, it's like, come on, I need something new. And I get it. It's a games as a service. Totally understand it, but that's why I just don't play it anymore. Oh, and randos. I'm
Fair,
getting tired
fair.
of getting killed by my teammates. Come
I
on,
mean,
guys,
I
pay
mean,
attention.
if I can
or even
somehow
boot
get
it
it
because
on
you don't have a
PC,
certain weapon.
if I can somehow get it on PC, I will play it with you, Keith. I'm more than happy to. um so yeah, for me, my list is a bit weird because there are games that I've played but not finished yet that don't make the list. So you'll hear a couple of the games in my top 5 will not be there at the end of the year. I will discuss those when I get to them. And one of them is my number 5, which is Top Spin, the new Top Spin from 2K.
Ah,
Um, because I really did enjoy this game. I think it's a really solid foundation for a new sort of return of the best tennis franchise that there's probably ever been. We hadn't had a top spin game in like a decade. There have been some attempts to kind of take that tennis game crown, and they just miss for whatever reason. Like there's something that isn't quite right about the gameplay, or they don't have the content. And Top Spin 2K25 is kind of exactly what I expected it to be, which is just a newer, fresher, better running version of the previous Top Spin game. The only thing that lets it down as a tennis game is they don't quite have enough licensed athletes in the game, and it's because they've waited too long, and some of these people like Novak Djokovic or Rafa Nadal, who are legends of the game, right? Some of them have licensing agreements with other tennis franchises. So they cannot be in Top Spin until those licensing agreements are finished. Um,
Jordan, what if they add Challengers DLC and you can play as Zendaya?
then the game would be a 10, right?
Perfect.
So, but yeah, I do enjoy it. I think it's a really solid foundation. I can't wait to see where the franchise goes. So currently, of all the games I've played, it's my top. It's my number 5, but I don't expect it to be in my top 10 by the end of the year, and we'll discuss why later on. So Jeff, we're back to you. What is your number 4?
My number 4 also is shared on this list with somebody, and that is Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Um, so Amazon had a massive sale on this, so I ended up getting it and capitalizing on that. This game's super fun. Like I know a lot of people were saying like it had Monster Hunter vibes, and I get it, kind of. But to me, this just plays like a a very standard kind of JRPG. The combat is super fun. The characters are really neat. My only issue, like, it would be higher on this list if the companions that you hired were actually injected into the story instead of just background elements. But the game is super fun. Like, it plays well. It looks fantastic. The story was really, really enjoyable. And like if you get a chance, play the demo. I think the demo's still available on PlayStation 4. Um, but no, it's super fun. The reason that I have it scoring higher than Final Fantasy is because its world, while open and kind of explorable, is still very linear and it's very focused, and it knows exactly what it's doing with those. It doesn't provide endless amounts of filler. Like, you do have side quests, but they feel very secondary. They don't feel like they're truly like required. Um, but no, I absolutely just enjoyed it.
Fair, fair. And it isn't me that has played this game, which means it's Keith. Keith, would you have this also at your number 4 right now?
Yep, I definitely do.
Okay. Do you have anything to add about the game?
No, I pretty much said everything there is. It's a super fun game. I enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed the characters. I love the art design. It's amazing. I just wish they had a little bit more content. I know they gave us stuff recently, but I just need more. The game deserves more. There's so much more they can do with this game right now, and I don't know if Side Games is going to do with it, or are they just going to keep adding small pieces of DLC? Are they going to give us like another town? Or are they going to give us new missions? Like, what exactly are you going to do with this? Or are we just done and just getting new characters?
I still find
That's
it
it.
weird that, like, to progress through the post game, you have to continually increase the difficulty to
Yeah.
access content. So like, you'll have certain missions that you do it easy, certain missions you do it normal, and then it expands to get to the different difficulties. That I'm not
Yeah.
a fan of.
No,
But
I mean, I've accepted that because that's the formula. They're not going to change it. I don't know. More weapons, better. I don't know. I just feel like I don't like being forced. And I mean, hey, we have all these different weapons, but if you use this particular weapon, then you'll do better than if you use this particular weapon. Like, why is that? Let us do multiple metas. I mean, don't make it, and it's not the game's fault or the developer's fault. I mean, that's just unfortunately how certain games are. Like even Dark Souls or from any From Software game, you must run this set to do good. This is the meta. Oh, I don't like that. Let me do what I want to do.
Yeah, every game has a meta nowadays, right? So, unfortunately, that's just the truth, and that brings me to my number 4, which might surprise some people, but I genuinely really like this game, and I want to play it every week, and I'm hoping that they continue to add to it and make it better, and that is X-Defiant. I reviewed X-Defiant for Outerhaven. You can go and read that review now on outerhaven.net. I really, really like the game. Like, I think it does something solid that is different from Overwatch and it's different from Call of Duty. It makes good use of Ubisoft franchises and kind of reimagining existing assets that they have to put together these fun maps. All the abilities are cool. Like, every class is worth using in some way. But even they have the meta, right? Because there's the cleaners in there, and when you play as the cleaners, every single gun fires like incendiary rounds, so you do more damage automatically as that class, even if you don't like their abilities. But yeah, I love it. I think, yes, the game is missing a few things, so it's 50-50 as to whether it makes my top 10 at the end of the year, and it will depend very much on how they support the game and how they continue to add to it, because, every mode in it right now, every game mode is objective based, right? Because that's where it becomes more of this hero shooter type thing, because it's focused on teamwork and kind of combining these abilities together to do something. one of my favorite modes is the escort mode, which me and Jeff have played quite a bit of, where you're escorting this little robot to 3 different checkpoints on the map, and if you reach all 3 checkpoints, the enemy team then has to beat your time, so all you have to do is stop them from getting to the end within your time. And yeah, it's really, really fun, but I just think they have, I'd like to see a team deathmatch added. I think there's an option potentially for a free-for-all as well, so that it's not a team-based thing.
They are adding team deathmatch.
Nice.
That was talked about. It's a solid game. Like, it's not on my list. I don't think it'll be in my top 10 for the year. I would love to see more maps that are not based off Division 2, because 90% of the maps are based on Division 2.
Yes.
But honestly, I think once Concord's not going to do anything, but I think once Fragpunk comes out, I don't think many people are going to be playing X-Defiant.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because X-Defiant obviously has their Season 1 coming up as well, where they're adding a new faction. This one is from Rainbow Six, so they'll have some new abilities to sort of play around with there. I think there's a Capture the Flag is being added to the game as well in Season 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That might make me come back.
Oh, please come back, Keith.
I love Capture the Flag.
I'd love to play this game with you, so...
Give us a Warthog in that mode, and I'm sold.
So yeah, so that's my number 4 right now. So we're on to the number 3s. So Jeff, what is your number 3 right now?
Business in the front, party in the back. Mullet and Mad Jack. That game is a fucking trip. So this is basically kind of like a, I wouldn't say like Ghost Runner, but it kind of has those vibes where essentially you are just blasting through levels as fast as you can. Some levels are 30 seconds, some levels are a minute, and you're basically hacking, slashing, shooting, wall running, jumping, all that stuff, all to this like 90s aesthetic, 80s, 90s aesthetic, like anime OVA. And it is gorgeous. It runs extremely well on Steam Deck. It is such a blast. Visually, it looks really neat. There's kind of different ways you can kind of go through some of the levels, whether it's just regular through the door, or you can like go through like vents and stuff. And you'll like kick people into like pop machines and stuff and grab the pop to heal, and then you'll like kick people into fans and stuff. It is so fun. Basically, the premise of it is robots have kind of taken over the earth essentially, and they've put people into like these like almost like reality deathmatch shows where like they have to kill to survive. So you'll start off with 10 seconds of health, and every single time you kill someone, you get an extra second or 2, and then every time you heal, you get a second or 2, and you kind of prolong your life as you go through these levels that are 30 seconds or a minute, and you just keep shooting, you keep slicing, you keep dashing, you keep doing everything to rescue this anime girl influencer who's captured by this robot guy with a big bullet on his head. And the bosses are super fun. The last level honestly makes me excited if they ever make a sequel, because it doesn't play like the rest of the game. And it's visually just a trip. It looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. Like, this is a absolute must-play game.
Nice. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. I've heard you speak about it before, but I've never looked into it myself. So maybe that is one I should look into, considering it's your number 3 right now. Keith, what about you? What would you have at your number 3 right now?
I would say another Crab's Treasure.
Okay, this
Did
one.
you get that? Did you get that Dark Souls reference?
Yeah, this one would be in my honorable mentions, I think. Only because I'm yet to finish the game. I do really like it though. I like it more than Jeff. I know that Jeff sort of felt.
Yeah, there's no way it's in my top 10.
Yeah.
At all.
I like it. I think it's. I
didn't like it.
I was happy to see this sort of Souls-like game finally get some accessibility. That was the main thing for me. But Keith, what do you really like about it?
So I like the fact that it is a all hands-on Souls-like game for various people. It's not a From Software game, and it's not a From Software like emulator or anybody who's trying to emulate what From Software does. This is a Souls-like game, very much. Yes, it is difficult, but it gives people the ability to play the game at their own pace. And this is something that I can respect, and this is something that people have been saying, give us a Souls-like game, but make it easy. Okay, well, it's not easy, but you can customize the game and make it easier for you. And, of course, my favorite Nas reference is, you get the gun, so you can kill everything with the gun. But I don't recommend you doing that. I do recommend that you play the game the way it's supposed to be played. But the gun is there if you beat your head against the boss a
that's
bazillion
the thing.
times.
It's having the option, right? It's having the
Exactly.
option to be able to play it the way that you want to play it.
Exactly. You're not stuck on this boss for the millionth time and played it for a bazillion hours. Like, I can't get past this game. This game is dead to me.
Yeah.
So instead of like Dark Souls, where you can't get past this guy and you're stuck and you're like, well, I want to keep playing, but I'm going to keep fighting the same guy over and over and over. I'm just going to give up the game. Hey, pull out your gun, give this guy the works, keep going.
Yeah.
Or, make it so you don't take damage, or make it so they take more damage, or, various different things. So I love the fact that there is an option out there. And there's a game that I can point to where people go, well, I want to play a Souls-like game, but I heard they're hard. Go play this game. Give this game a try. Unlike some people, I'm not throwing shade, but I really am throwing shade. I'm telling people to go play a game that is not a Souls-like game to get used to playing Souls-likes.
Yeah.
Go play
So, yeah.
Candy Crush. You'll get good at Elden Ring. Don't worry about it.
I heard that, and I was like, I'm going to talk. No, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time. Not going to do it.
So my number 3 right now is a game that I believe neither of you have played, but kind of took the internet by storm for a little while earlier this year. And it is the deck building roguelike-ish game called Balatro, which is
Oh my God. Everybody's playing this game. What is this game about, man?
So
what is this game?
It's poker, but it's not poker.
Well, I don't play poker, so that's why.
But you don't need to. But this is the thing: you don't even need to play poker as long as you. If you take 2 minutes to learn what the poker hands are, that's all you need to know about poker to play this game. And what happens is you have a score that you need to reach by essentially multiplying and adding different numbers together, right? And each card is worth a different number, and you can have jokers, that up to 5 jokers in your run, which will give you different modifiers. So, like, for example, it might be that you get a joker that says every even numbered card you have in your hand gets times by 10 in value, right? And so you have to combine these jokers in a way with the cards you have in your hand to allow you to get the highest scores possible to beat a run of the game. And to beat a run of the game, you have to beat 8 different bosses, essentially, and they get harder as you go on, but they can also have random things that will debuff you. So, for example, you might get to one boss, and it might be like, okay, you can't play any cards in this hand that you have used in the entirety of your run so far. And it makes it a completely different thing. And that's where the roguelike element comes in, because as you play the game, you unlock more cards, which allow you to put together stronger decks, which allow you to then get further and have more options available to you. And yeah, it can take over your life. Like, you'll play this and you'll play it for 10 minutes, and then you'll be like, oh, I'll play a couple more runs, and then it'll be 2 hours later. Like, it's a brilliant, brilliant game, and I really would recommend everyone at least try it out. It's a smaller indie game. But yeah, it's not, it's not going to break the bank for you to buy this game. It's not on a subscription service, unfortunately. But this is, if I was to make a guess, Balatro will win Indie of the Year. Like, I believe that to be the case so far, currently. Yeah, and that's why it makes number 3 for me. Now we're into the top 2s. This is going to be interesting because I know what Keith's number 1 is. So I feel like I do, yeah. So we'll get back to Keith because I'm interested what his number 2 is, but we'll get back to him. Jeff, what is your number 2 right now?
Sure. I will stress too that once I've beaten Battle of the Erd Tree, that's likely where it's gonna rest is as my number 2. So again, my list is definitely gonna change by the end of the year. My number 2 right now is Unicorn Overlord. This game is just incredibly fun. It's beautifully gorgeous. I mean, that team does amazing work. Um, but no, this game essentially is kind of like excuse me, an auto battler, where essentially you make your teams, you strategically place them. Oh, excuse me. Oh, you strategically place them kind of like in a 2x3 grid based on certain things, whether they're like a weaker sniper class or a magic class or like a kind of bruiser tank, and then you kind of let those battles play out as you kind of incurred, like you kind of move around the map. Like it's kind of like Fire Emblem in a lot of ways, where you kind of pit those classes together and then they kind of like fight automatically, and then like you'll see like where your health is going to dictate on each fight. And the story is really good. It's got a lot of really amazing twists and turns of like how it goes. But this game is just so fun to play. The character animations and the character art and everything is gorgeous. It's a game that truly respects your time in regards to like, you know, how you're playing it. There's a lot of depth because like everyone's like, oh, it's an auto battler, it just plays itself. Well, no, because like you can adjust how certain things work, how each unit utilizes certain skills, how they procced, how they essentially just kind of like work. So you can go in and you can min max every little bit of detail in this game to the ninth degree. It is incredibly immersive that way. Um, and like it's got the ability for you to like grind away and like earn like experience books to like give to your other teams that don't have the experience, because like you only earn experience if you're played. So it doesn't level up the rest of your team. So if you get a brand new character that's way behind, or you're like, oh, I haven't used this person, you can just feed them experience books, or you can put them in the fight and they get boosted experience. And then by the time that they get to where you're leveled off, it allows them to make them worthwhile to use.
Yeah.
But it is an absolutely stunning game. It's only available on console. This developer hates PC. I don't know why.
That's exactly why.
Greg Miller is like funding them. I have no idea.
You mean Greg Miller? We when we meet up, we're gonna fight because I'm tired of him. But what you said, not to cut you off,
has been PC Game of the Year the last decade.
Not to cut you off with that. I purchased it. I was a big fan of Atlas. I loved their stuff. I love them. I purchased this game, and then I was like, you know what? I'm taking it back. I can't get aboard you not supporting all platforms. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, because
you haven't given us a reason why.
Are on PC.
Yeah, I don't understand why you won't put the games on PC. Like,
fair.
Yeah, I'm not.
What's going on there?
Sure, but yeah, absolutely amazing game. But yeah, like once I'm done Shadow of the Retreat, that more than likely is going to occupy my second spot, or even my third, because not my honorable mention, but my one game that could disrupt it that we'll talk about. I think it definitely has a contender for Game of the Year for me.
I've just remembered, I know what Jeff's number 1 is at the moment, so that's going to be an interesting conversation in a minute. But Keith, what is your number 2 for now?
For now, it is Tekken 8.
Wow, okay. I wasn't expecting that to be on the...
Wait, why? I like fighting games. I mean,
so do I. But it's weird because I feel like Tekken 8 to me, I've heard nobody talk about it in that context. Like, no one.
Yeah, I got too busy to review it because like the campaign is like fucking batshit crazy. Like that last
Yeah,
fight,
I mean,
I swear to God, it's like 6 hours long.
yeah, Tekken's just, but it's just the fact that everything that they brought to the table, the game modes, the training, the arcade mode, the online has gotten a lot better. The customization of the characters, the amount of characters, the stages, the music, especially the music. I go back to Street Fighter 6 and I go, well, I enjoy the music, but it's not like Street Fighter 4 or 5 or 3. It doesn't feel as intimate. It doesn't feel like you made the music to match these characters. But Tekken 8, forget that. It's all about the characters and the theme. It's amazing.
I do need to pick up Tekken 8 at some point, because Tekken, when I was younger, was always my favorite fighting game franchise. And then the last few games, I just haven't played them. Like, they've just passed me by. So I would like to pick up this game at some point for sure, especially if you're speaking so highly of it, Keith.
Yeah, and this was like.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, go ahead. I was
go ahead.
gonna say, like, this was kind of like Harada's like last hurrah, where he was like, if this doesn't hit, he was kind of done with fighting games or something. I think he had talked about how like they really needed this to be a success. So like, and he's been super transparent on Twitter. Like, he even talked about like why Soul Calibur may not necessarily work. If you go and read that thread or that tweet that he had posted, it is one of the most introspective, transparent things I've ever seen a top tier developer kind of talk about. Because he talks about so much stuff. But yeah, Tekken 8 is unbelievably good, especially that story mode. Like, holy fuck, it was great.
Nice.
And while I may get my ass kicked a lot online, because I'm not the fighting game person I used to be, I don't, go in the lab and work on my tech, and I'm dead set on my favorite characters being my mains, even though they may not be the best characters. That's just, how it is.
Mm-hmm. Fair. So who do you play as, Keith? I'm interested.
Nina. I play as Nina. Sometimes I will use Law. Law's better than Nina. Nina is just overcomplicated, and her damage output is just not where it used to be. They nerfed the hell out of her.
Like Reina.
Everybody loves her. Everybody loves her.
Cool.
Nice.
It's kind of like that Tekken 8's Jury in a lot of way, in terms of like kind of a little psychotic in some ways, but I mean, her backstory is definitely warranting that. So
if you've been reading my reviews this year, I think nobody would be surprised to learn what my number 2 is. Do you have any guesses? Jeff, I feel like you might know.
I don't know, like the only one that I can think of, which makes me wonder what would be your number 1, but I'm gonna say it's either Yakuza or WWE.
Interesting. Keith, do you have any guesses?
No. I don't.
Okay, my number 2 is Hellblade 2.
Really?
Yeah. I just loved it. Like, I know that some people really didn't like it. That's fair enough. That's for them. But for me, and I said this in my review, which I wrote for Outerhaven again, and, thank you to Microsoft for providing us the opportunity to be able to review that game. It blew me away. Like, from the opening seconds that I was playing the game, it absolutely blew me away. It was a cinematic experience with a great story that I loved, some of the best performances I've ever seen, and, it's the best looking game at the moment. And some people go, oh, but it's not really a game. And it's like, well, it is, because you do play it. If you sat there and did nothing, the game doesn't play itself.
And like I've said before when we were talking about it, it has more gameplay mechanics than Tetris and Pac-Man combined.
Yeah.
And those are two of the most like widely respected games in the history. It's got more mechanics than that, so therefore,
yeah,
it's a game.
So yeah, and I just loved it. I would be shocked if this game wasn't winning at least some awards when awards season comes around. I think Melina, the main actress for Senua, I would be really surprised if she doesn't win Best Voice Performance. Like, it was astounding. I felt so much emotion from her, even when she wasn't talking.
Yeah, I think Jurgens has like a good chance. I think she's definitely going to be nominated. I don't know if she'll take it just because the kind of mixed reaction um of that game, I
Hmm.
think, kind of drowns out her
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
the conversation around it. But yeah, like the performances in that game is
Yeah,
fantastic. And the only reason that I didn't have it on my top 5 list is because the other experiences that I've played, I would rather replay those
that's
than
fair.
Hellblade.
That's fair.
But yeah,
Um,
that game is absolutely stunning.
yeah, for me, it's one that is like the reason it is and the reason it's so high is because it's when I think about these lists, I think about there's the cat, everybody. We've had the cat appearance. But yeah, when I think about these lists, for me, part of it is what experience will stick with me the most, and Hellblade is an experience that I will be talking about 5 years from now. Um, yeah, I just think they did some amazing things. I really still look. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I have to say, I still don't understand the people that are criticizing certain elements of this game for being bad, but they liked them in the first game, even though it's effectively exactly the same. Like,
I think that is why people are being a bit more on it, is because Microsoft had, or sorry, Ninja Theory had the chance to elevate and enhance those things, and that they didn't. Like they really didn't elevate it, and I think that's one of the reasons why it doesn't score a little bit higher for me.
mhm.
Is because like the puzzles, for example, are stupid easy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the ones where you have to line up the shapes and stuff. There's
Mhm.
no red herrings. Like
No,
the
they're
moment
so
you
easy,
encounter
those
those
ones.
moments,
Yeah.
yeah. And like honestly, if the puzzles were a bit more in depth, and I think if they elevated certain things a bit more, like there's some little nuanced things in combat, like using your mirror to like deflect like thrown weapons and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I think that game just misses the mark in regards to not elevating itself over the first one and just replicating. It's just a better
Yeah.
looking playing
They
version
they
of the first
they
game.
what they essentially did is they didn't elevate it, but they tweaked it to make it more cinematic. That's what they did. They
Yeah,
Because even the combat is different, but it's like it comes down to personal preference. Some people
yeah,
like the fact that you could dodge around more easily in the first game. I really liked the fact that my biggest issue with the first game was these mobs of enemies that would hit you from behind and you had no way to avoid them. And in this one, because every fight is one on one, or at least in the
yeah.
way that you interact with them, they're all one on one, it made it
I
feel like every fight was a mini boss to me because they all felt
yeah,
meaningful.
I did miss the fact that you didn't have multiple enemies because I loved how the voices would be like, Senua, behind you. Like none of that here. And I think that does kind of discount
That's true.
the
Yeah,
voices in your head a bit more.
for sure.
But no,
For
amazing
sure.
game. Absolutely amazing. And I
Fair.
like the almost like Batman Scarecrow battles in terms of like
Oh
fighting
yeah,
the giants and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
They're really
definitely.
cool.
They're good.
No, you
Um,
both played this on with headphones.
I did. Yeah. There's
Oh yeah.
no. You should not play this game without headphones, in my opinion.
So I know they said that, but I keep wanting to reach out to any of the audiophiles who played this,
Mhm.
and have actually played this on a really decent, like a 7.1 or a 5.1
Oh,
surround sound that's down to the max.
so I have as well. I've done both, and don't get me wrong. On a great surround sound system, you are still gonna get a great experience, but there's something about and I think it's to do with the way they recorded the audio, because they actually
Yeah.
used like a headphone. They used like a head mic
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
where it's actually shaped like your head, and the way that the audio sort of rattles around inside of your head when you have the headphones on is like something I've never experienced before. Like, that is one area where they did really elevate, even compared to the first game, in my opinion. It was fantastic, the audio experience. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I would recommend. I'd be interested to hear what you would actually think of the game when you play it, Keith. So play it. And let
I
me
mean,
know.
it's on Xbox Game Pass, and I have Xbox Game Pass, so there's no reason for me not to have played it.
And you can burn through it in like 6-7 hours.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not long.
Yeah, it's not long. Because you were surprised. I remember when I was reviewing it, and I told you,
I
like...
was like, wow, he's done. Like, wait, I just gave him the damn code. How is he already done?
Yeah, that was brilliant. But anyway, now we're at the number ones. So our current game of the year for each of us. Jeff, you first. What is your number one?
Stellar Blade.
I thought so.
This game is fucking awesome. Yeah, like I love it. Like, you know, everyone was like, you know, kind of talking about how it was gonna have this like Souls-like kind of thing, but it's kind of more like a tightly controlled camera version of like a character action game like Devil May Cry, like in terms of like that kind of stuff. It just doesn't get as kind of like floaty and as aerial as like some of those games do. Oh, my cat just decided to turn that off. All right. She knows how to use a laptop. She's very skilled. Stellar Blade is just super fun. The combat is immensely gratifying. Like it feels so good to play. I love the combat of it. I love Eve as well too, like all the costumes and the character and stuff. Like she is a little bland of a character herself, but those types of games sometimes do that because they want everything else to kind of stimulate you. But like no, like the world and stuff like that is super fun to explore. You're always like earning something. There are like every single costume that you get, you earn in the game. And then when you go through the game again, you get alternative versions of those costumes as well. And it's just a very, very fun game to play. Like I love the combat. It's gorgeous as well. Like there's an area at the end. It's kind of like this like interior place, and it's got this like gold trim and all that kind of stuff, and it's just one of the most beautiful looking environments I think I've ever seen. The game is just super fun. Like
I mean,
honestly, I
Sugar
can't say
looks
enough
like
good things
she's
about
not
it.
agreeing with you. Like, just like, yeah, I don't agree.
He's like, no, you play it too much. You don't take me for walkies. Is that what it is?
But yeah, I hope to get to this one at some point because I've heard you gushing about it ever since you started playing it.
Oh.
So
It's amazing.
So yeah, I don't know, Keith, have you played Stellar Blade?
So I actually have a copy of Stellar Blade because I wanted to support the developer. I have not played it yet, only because I'm waiting for the game to come out for PC.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, there was a news topic that I was going to put on there saying that due to contractual obligations, the PC version is probably not happening anytime soon.
Oh,
we can wait. PC gamers, we can wait. I don't see that was the thing that really aggravated me because when the game was like, what was the name of the game before? Project Valkyrie or something like that. It was coming to the
Project
PC.
Eve.
Project Eve, yeah. And then PlayStation got involved. Like, hey, so we'll give you some money.
But it's the same as it was coming to Xbox originally, right? Like it was actually revealed on the Xbox stage.
If we give you some money, you keep it off these other platforms, and we'll be good, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, they're saying they're looking at a PC version, but can't comment due to its contractual relationship.
Yeah, so basically they might be working on it, but they can't say anything.
It's like, how did that work out for Square and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
extremely well. They're so proud of it. It sold $1 billion.
And look at that whole company shifting direction now.
I mean, that stuff. I'm sorry, that stuff needs to stop. If you're a third party, stop making these damn exclusive deals with publishers. It needs to stop. Stop it.
It's only going to harm you.
The only time it should ever happen is if, for whatever reason, is that they are publishing the game for you. Like, for example, if PlayStation go to Konami and be like, we want to make a new Metal Gear game and we will pay for it, do you know what I mean? Like, we'll pay for development. But then at that point, it becomes a second-party game. But everybody thinks those have disappeared nowadays, apparently.
And the thing with Stellar Blade as well, too, is the bulk of the game was already made. Sony just came in because they're like, hey, we have fuck all for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
We need a game.
They needed
and so they
something,
basically just they just paid cheap for like what they could for this.
And it seems to be the same thing that's going on with Black Myth as well, right? While we're on that little subject, it seems like maybe
that's
they
due to
made a deal.
optimization.
Yeah, but
That's due to optimization. I thought they commented that there was no exclusive deal.
So they commented that it was due to optimization, and then Microsoft made a comment that was like, we can't comment on deals that our partners make with other platforms. So there's a bit of a back and forth there of maybe it's not to do with optimization, and maybe they do have some sort of timed exclusivity with the PlayStation platform. So yeah, there's interesting things happening there. But let's get back to our main topic, because Keith, I want you to tell everybody what is your number one game of the year so far in 2024.
Hello Kitten, or whatever the hell that name is.
Hello Kitty, Alan Adventure.
There you go. That's my. I can't get enough of that game.
It's my favorite.
Obviously, yeah. It's I played a crap ton of Elden Ring when it first came out. Way too much. So, and then I stopped playing the game because I was like, hey, I know they're gonna bring out a DLC. I'm watching all these guys play. I'm in New Game Plus a bazillion. Good job. Can't wait to see you get your ass kicked when the DLC comes. DLC comes. This game is too hard. But yes, Shadow of the Erdtree is perhaps my game of the year right now. But there's a bunch of games that can knock it off the perch. But as of right now, yes, that is my favorite. From Software has done the impossible and has made a fantastic game even more fantastic.
Nice. We will talk about games that could possibly knock it off the perch after this, because we're going to look at the kind of second half of the year at the end of the episode. But my number one is a game that was briefly mentioned already. My current number one is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, otherwise might be called Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth by some people. Because look,
You don't say that word no more. We're not allowed to say Yakuza. It's bad.
I just love this. I've always been a big fan of this franchise, and as many of you will know, when they made the decision to go turn-based with the last game, the first Like a Dragon, I wasn't sure I was going to like it because I did not like turn-based games before that game. And then I played that and it was great. And I think Ichiban is one of the best characters ever in video games.
Yeah, he's great.
I think he's great. Amazing. And just to continue that story with him, and I don't know how they do it because they're the only studio that do it, but they balance ridiculousness with really heavy emotional storytelling and have it all make sense and not be stupid. Like, I've never seen any other studio be able to balance such tonally opposing things in one game and have it make complete sense.
You'll go from something that's incredibly like heart-wrenching and stuff to like, I'm gonna go take pictures of like buff guys on the bus.
Or you'll be making snow out of nappies and it will make you nearly cry because it's actually a really serious story and moment. Yeah. It's like it's crazy what they do, and I and not to mention the big thing for Infinite Wealth was they finally brought it outside of Japan, right? They went to Hawaii, brand new setting, and Hawaii was really interesting. It was really interesting to kind of look around, and they had some real, actual real licensed shops that are in Hawaii that were there in the places that they would be, and all that kind of thing. And it's just really, really good. And it was a game that, there was controversy around with the New Game Plus thing being locked behind certain editions of the game and that kind of thing. So that sucked. But the actual game itself, it was brilliant, and it will 100% be in my top 10 at the end of the year. I just don't know if it will remain number one, because I feel like for me, in the second half of this year, there are 7 or 8 options that are gonna make my list, and there are at least 3 or 4 of those that have a chance of being number 1 based on what I've seen so far. So before we get to those, quickly, does anyone have some quick honourable mentions that they wanted to speak about?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
My only honorable mention is one that I will touch base with the what I have been playing.
Nice. Okay.
Just
Yeah.
that's what it
We'll
is.
do a small what I've been playing at the end. This is a long episode, so we apologise for that, but we have a lot to talk about.
Never apologize.
So, of the games coming up in the second half of the year, we have things like Star Wars Outlaws. We have things like Assassin's Creed Shadows. What else do we have? We have Avowed that's going to get a release date at some point. We have Indiana Jones that's hopefully coming still this year, according to what they're
Space
saying.
Marines 2.
Yeah.
Space Marine 2. Yes.
So what are you guys looking at? And we'll start with you, Keith. Are there any games that are coming in the second half of the year that you think, yeah, these have a strong chance of making my list and being somewhere up there?
Well, there's a couple of them, so I'll just keep it with just 3. Black Myth Wukong. Obviously, I've been looking forward to the game for quite some time, so that has a definitely good chance of knocking off Elden Ring. We'll see. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is another Souls-like, not complete Souls-like, say Souls-light. Yeah, I've been following this game for the past 2 years now. So,
and that's coming out pretty soon, right? Like 3 weeks away or something. So
yeah. I didn't even play the demo. I know a lot of people were not too pleased with the demo. I can't comment on that because I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait and play the game. I'm not gonna touch the demo. We'll see what happens when the full game comes out. And I didn't put it on the list, but yeah, Space Marine 2. Warhammer 4000 Space Marine 2.
I mean, that does look amazing.
I love the original game. It was basically Warhammer. It was Gears of War, Warhammer, and it was phenomenal. Yes,
Gears of Warhammer.
It was so good. And then
I never played the original. Sorry.
THQ was like, "We're going out of business. Sorry, bye." And I was like, "But you said sequel." So I'm glad to see that it lives. It's looking better than ever. We've got co-op, we've got PvP, we've got a crap ton of archetypes. It's just September?
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
not long.
Games like this need to be coming out in the summer, so we can play them during the summer.
Keith likes the summer. His brain's gone a bit crazy.
Well, I don't work. I don't have a job right now, so hey.
True.
Let me play these games.
Is there any other games, Keith, that you look at and you think, yeah, that one has a strong chance? Anything else?
That's coming out this year? No.
Yeah. Okay, so not Assassin's Creed Shadows or Star Wars Outlaws. You don't think those ones will be?
I'm on the fence about Outlaw. I'm very on the fence because I have a bone to pick with, is it Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce it. I have a bone to pick with them, so we won't go into that. I would even say Dragon Ball Sparking, but I like what I played, but I've never played any of those games in the series, so it's unfair for me to go, oh, this is my game of the year. I've only really been exposed to this one, so no. Metaphor Fantasio looks amazing, but it's an RPG. Okay, yay, I'm gonna play it, but no, it's not going to be the game that's gonna stop me from going, okay, Elden Ring Shadow Tree is my favorite game of the year.
What about Dragon Age? You're not a Dragon Age person?
No. I'm looking forward to it, but I am not a Dragon Age person.
Fair. Okay, well, Jeff, what about you? What are some of the games that you look at and think that has a chance of making my list?
I think the only one that really has a chance to disrupt anything is going to be Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Just because that game looks absolutely incredible. But yeah, like again, like I am excited for Outlaws because I like the team that's making it. But yeah, Warhammer Space Marine 2 is definitely something that I think is definitely going to be in my top 5.
Nice, nice.
It looks super fun.
Fair, fair. Well, for me, I am in a bit of a different place because I haven't played as many games as you guys. So obviously I have some things to finish which might make my list. But as for what's coming out, I look at it and I sort of think, for me, for the style of game I like, there's probably 7 games that are going to make my list. And then realistically, there are maybe 3 or 4 games that have a chance to be in that top 3, depending on how they turn out, right? The main
Do you
one...
really have that much time? Do you? What are you doing, buddy?
I have a lot of time. um, I have more time now. I even asked you if you had games for me to review the other day, Keith. So...
Yeah, you did. You was like, got any games? Like, yeah.
But yeah, so for me, the main one that I look at and I go, if they execute this the way that I'm hoping they will, is Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think that if they can get anywhere close to what I've hoped an Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan would be, then that will be somewhere high on my list, I believe. Outlaws I'm looking forward to, but I'm not 100% sure that it's going to kind of, make any waves on my list. And then the other two is like Avowed and Indiana Jones. They're very different types of games, but I love Obsidian. I think Obsidian makes some of the best RPGs that exist, because they focus a lot more on choice and consequence, but also kind of this dynamic choice through the way that you play the game. So not everything is dialogue, right? And we've seen with Avowed, one of the examples they gave is like, you're trying to get into this area to get this thing, and if you go in and kill everyone in there, which you can do, you can just walk through and kill people to go and get this thing, you will then have like a boss fight at the end with the queen. But if you have the abilities to sneak your way in and get in there without killing anyone, she might, depending on what you say to her, she might just give you this thing, And it's like, to have that variety, because there are so many options in between that as well, to have that variety of what I can experience compared to the next person, if they pull that off right, that's one of the games that, again, could easily be in my top 5, if not a little higher. And then Indiana Jones, I think that everything we've seen from it so far just sort of suggests to me that they're nailing the tone and the storytelling of what I want an Indiana Jones game to be. So then it will come down to how that gameplay actually feels to interact with and use.
I want to see like 5 minutes of uninterrupted gameplay, because the cinematics are fine, but that stuff's easy to nail because you're just essentially like parroting like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just
like
want
the template's already there, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But then, when I think about it, it's like, is there anything else? In a weird way, I'm actually more excited for Call of Duty this year than I have been in a really long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird hearing that from you.
Because it's free.
I'm genuinely really excited because I think they're making some smart changes. I think they're going backwards in some ways to go forwards, which I think games sometimes need to do. They've talked about in the multiplayer how the original kind of prestige system is coming back. Excellent. That never should have gone away in the first place. Excellent. The new movement system looks incredible, and I think it will change the way that people play the game. And most importantly, for me at least, the campaign looks really, really interesting. And I like this idea that they talked about where there's gonna be missions in there that you can tackle in multiple different ways. And they almost made it sound like a few of the missions in there are kind of going to be like Hitman. You're going to be in this building and you're going to need to figure out how you get to the thing you need to get to.
I just hope it's not a crutch for like our campaign's 4 hours, but you can replay these missions a billion different ways. So therefore it makes the campaign like worth 30 hours because of all these different things.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not a crutch for that. Because like, again, I don't want to pay $90 for a campaign and I don't have to, because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see, obviously, the Game Pass effect on Call of Duty, because I do think a lot of people who maybe haven't played it for years or wouldn't normally buy it are probably now going to play it just because it's on Game Pass. But it's one that I'm looking forward to. Am I sure it's going to be a hit? No. But I am looking forward to seeing what they've done, and I think everything I've heard and everything they've talked about so far is really interesting to me. We haven't learned a lot about the new zombie mode. We know that round-based zombies is coming back, and people are really looking forward to that. I love a good zombie mode myself.
Can they just sell this separately? That would be amazing. Just sell zombie modes. My son loves playing zombie modes, and he's like, Dad, but I'm like, Call of Duty, man, come on.
I mean, it's on Game Pass now, so you don't have to buy him it.
Come on. Download the 1.5 terabyte file. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So I am looking forward to that. I think that Call of Duty, when it comes to the end of the year, will probably be in my top 10. Whether it is good enough to make my top 5 or not is a completely different question, because to be good enough to make my top 5, it needs to be original Modern Warfare to Modern Warfare 2 or 3 level of Call of Duty game, and I'm not sure that they're capable of delivering that anymore, so it's going to be really interesting to see. Is there anything else before we get to what we've been playing? Is there any other games that we've sort of missed that we want to shout out that are coming later this year?
Yeah, see, the problem is you said this year. So that's the problem.
Go on then. What have you got for further on then, Keith? Give us one that you're
Monster
really...
Hunter Wilds, Phantom Blade Zero. Just 2 games off the tip of my tongue. I mean,
Fair.
right there.
Fair. Gears of War E-Day for me is the one where I'm like, as soon as I saw that reveal, I lost my mind, and I cannot wait to play that game whenever it comes. I am surprised that, Jeff, you didn't mention there is a new Life is Strange game coming later this year.
Yeah. That's literally what I was just about to say, like, depending on how they deliver that, because, like, again, I love Life is Strange. I don't know whether or not the Chloe choice or the Arcadia Bay choice is going to impact anything other than just like, oh, how's Chloe doing? Oh, she's doing fine. Okay, back to the story. Like, if it's that bullshit, then I'll be like, fuck that. I want that choice to be meaningful within the game. But considering Max has grown up and gone to college and all that kind of stuff, I think it's going to be good. I just don't know if it's going to be amazing. I mean, True Colors was very, very
I was
good.
going to say, I was a massive fan of True Colors, and that was the first one that I'd really played. I went back to play the others after that.
And this is all Deck 9, because Deck 9 never, like, that. The original ones were Don't Nod, and then they left.
Yes.
No, like, Life is Strange, double exposure, it looks good. Yeah, but whether or not it is going to be good, that remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen, for sure. Well, let's get to what we've been playing. Short answer from me is nothing, because apparently this week my body just decided that on the day we were originally going to record this podcast, no, you're going to have an allergic reaction today, and your throat is going to swell up and just have this constant burning pain for 24 hours. So
that's just what it's like to play Elden Ring. I don't know why you're not playing Elden Ring then. So
I haven't played anything. Both of you have played Elden Ring, so I feel like we should start with that. Tell me how good this game is, and why is it so good?
If you want to start off, you've actually beaten the campaign.
I'm trying to think of it, how to put this in words here. No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. So, not going to say that. Like I said earlier, it's just an amazing DLC. This could have been Elden Ring 2. It's that simple. they've refined the game so much, added in so many more weapons and spells and bosses and a new world. And even some people theorize that it could have fit right in the middle of where the middle of the lands between could have been. So, theories there. But this game is just so massive and also a lot of verticality for what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I actually
there's
have
a
a
lot
question,
of
Keith, because I don't
Go
know
ahead.
this. How long is this DLC? Like, how big is it?
It's very big. It's as long as you want it to be, or as short as you want it to be. Giving if you just go after, can I do spoilers? Are we allowed spoilers?
I feel like we can.
I would
Okay,
say
Just
don't spoil who the last boss is.
Yeah, don't spoil that
Okay,
for
fine.
Jeff because he hasn't finished
Well,
it yet.
I won't say who the bosses
I already know who it is.
are.
I'm just saying like who the
Okay.
last boss is a very big spoiler.
Okay, so the game is just like the original Elden Ring. There are main bosses, major bosses, and then bosses. The game is filled with bosses. Now, I know they said there's only going to be like 10 bosses. They lied. They completely lied. There's bosses if you go to dungeons. You get the world bosses that you currently in. Oh my God, dragon! Where did he come from? You got the invaders. There's just so many different bosses in this game. Then you got the main bosses that are in like the castle or things you have to do. And then you have the major bosses that are okay. If you just want to beat the game and do nothing else, you got to go fight these four bosses to progress throughout the game. So there's that. So there's a lot of stuff to do. The world is vast. Again, like I said, a lot of verticality. There's a lot of underground stuff you can do as well. Like you can literally go to one of the most pain in the ass optional bosses in the game if you just travel across the main bridge and go to the dragon's pit and follow it all the way through. And then you get to this one guy and go,
about the one that you jump off or the actual dragon in there?
No, the one after him. Have you not fought?
I haven't jumped down into the pit to fight whatever's there, and I keep dying at the dragon because like it doesn't let you summon the mimic tier against the dragon
with the claw?
in the dragon's pit.
With the sword, the magma dragon guy.
Yeah, you go down and then you go up a small little cave, and then he just starts rampaging around the corner, and he's got a little health bar. He doesn't have an actual title.
Yeah, that's the magma guy. Yeah, he's from the original Elden Ring. Yeah. So after you do that, there's a whole nother path thing that you have to go through down there.
Yeah.
And it takes you to an optional dragon who is perhaps second hardest in the game.
Wow.
Some are saying first hardest. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering where he was and stuff, but
he's down there. Like, you go down there, and then it takes you through another path to the Dragon Pit terminus, and it's a whole thing.
This whole discussion makes me want to play this game. So I have a question, because as you know, I haven't finished Elden Ring. I got maybe like the furthest I got in it was maybe like 15 hours. It's like rookie numbers. So my question is, how do I have to beat the original game to play this DLC?
You do not have to.
You just have to beat Mog, and you have to beat Radon. That's it.
Which is funny because they're both optional bosses.
Okay. Maybe I go back to Elden Ring and
you have to beat the actual Mog, not the one that's in the crypt, but the one that's in this big like red area with columns everywhere and stuff. Like
so, and to do that,
the original Mog.
And to do that, Jordan, I don't want to put you off, but there are two ways to do that. Okay. Either take part in a very long and convoluted quest line that involves PvP, or continue on through the game's story till you get to a certain point.
Okay.
But you don't have to beat the invaders. You don't have to invade and beat the people. You just have to invade.
Because this is my thing. I love the game, but it goes back to what I was saying earlier of if the co-op functioned better or more easily, I would have probably beaten this game like 5 times. Because I genuinely love the gameplay and the looking around and all that stuff. I think it's one of the most well-designed games ever. But it's also a game that, let's be real. I'm a little bit of a chicken, and I don't want to play on my own. So,
Well, I
Mimic
can't
tier,
help you with
baby.
that. I can't help you with that, but I do have an issue with the game, but I don't have an issue with the game. But Jeff will understand when I say this. You know, the big thing about the DLC is it plays into a part of the story that starts in the first game. So to make you feel part of that quest line, you have to beat the 2 optional bosses. That is locking the DLC behind the first game. So you don't have to beat the first game, but you do have to beat Mog and you do need to beat Radon.
okay.
And a lot of people have not done that.
Interesting. Okay. What would
Yeah,
It's like,
like-
you want to play this DLC? You got to play these bosses. You got to beat these bosses
So
first.
let
Have
me
fun.
ask you this thing then. For me and for other people who might be new to Elden Ring, who've only just picked it up with this DLC coming out, how, if you could give one tip to be better at the game, how do I be better at the game?
Play at your own pace. Experiment. Don't be afraid
I
to
would
die.
say-
You're going to die. You're going to die.
I would say explore, like in terms of like the base Elden Ring game, is just to explore and take in all of the encounters that you can get, because they're going to boost your experience. They're going to offer you a lot more resources to level up your weapons, to level up your like your spirit ashes. I would say find a build that is very, very good for you. And then if you need to, rely on Mimic Tier, because it just creates a clone of yourself. And what's really neat about the Mimic Tier is if you equip a sword that you feel is good as a counter with yours, you can equip it, summon your Mimic Tier, and then switch back to your other weapon, and they'll use that sword. You have that sword, and then you have this really good melting pot of different abilities.
Nice.
And it like for me, for like the DLC, is the DLC to me doubles down on the best qualities of Elden Ring, not the difficulty, but in terms of like its boss design, its level
Yes.
design is still absolutely impeccable.
The
And it's the
world
kind of game
design
that
is bar none.
Oh,
Nothing
like
beats it.
aesthetically, it is one of the most gorgeous games ever. Like you'll go into an area where it's just nothing but blue flowers, but everything else is so muted in color that it just makes those things pop. And it's still, to me, is the most unparalleled open world in regards to you can go in any direction and you will find something rewarding. It's not that you'll just find something to do, you will find something that makes that world absolutely shine. And it doesn't matter what direction you go in. Yeah, you'll go into an area and then all of a sudden, like, you'll go down a cave, and then that cave will go to another area, and then that will go to another area, and then all of a sudden you're in the back door of a big giant castle and you have a different encounter than going through the front door. Um, it is, yeah, it is absolutely breathtaking in its scale. It is an expansion pack that feels bigger than most other AAA games.
Oh
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Oh yes.
It's
Hell
it's
yes.
the highest rated expansion pack
So-
that there is,
so
beating out Heart and
basically-
Stone.
So basically, Keith was right, and this could have just been Elden Ring 2.
Yes. Yes. It literally could have been.
The only way that I would fight back on that is that I don't think there's enough new mechanics to put the 2 on there, because they just enhance what's already there. And again, that is how most sequels usually operate. But I think that you would have to do something a little bit bigger in order to earn that 2. But I definitely see where that argument goes.
Fair.
But no, like right now I'm just past Mesmer, which is the guy that's essentially on the cover. I still have to do the horseback fight behind the castle. I still have to do that, which leads into
Oh
a
my
bunch
God.
of other areas.
Do not use torrent
Um,
for that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh my God, he just like 2-shots me. I can't even get my summon basically out. And the only reason I even beat Mesmer is because this guy named Sigurd, he basically came in and like soloed Mesmer while I just ran around and basically like did a couple pot shots to avoid getting killed.
That's what I've been doing a
well,
lot.
I
I've been just
I didn't
jumping in
have
and trying to help
problem-
people beat the game.
Yeah, I didn't have problems on Relena, which apparently people were like 50 tries deep, and I got
Depends on
like
your
1
spec.
HP left. I got 1 HP left on Relena on my first try. But again, I
It
summoned
depends on-
everything, and my Mimic Tier almost sold
Yeah,
it.
it depends on your set. It's funny how your mimic tier which Jordan, I want to break the news to you. Jeff hasn't been 100% sincere to you. The Mimic tier is you can only get that Mimic tier if you progress a certain quest line.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's not something you get early on.
No,
unfortunately.
you get it like I don't know, like a ways in. But
Oh, yeah.
it's not difficult to get the Mimic tier at all.
No.
Okay.
But getting back to the Mimic, it's amazing how you can wear a set of armor and a boss will 2-3 shots you, right? And the Mimic tier just tanks this thing. It's like, but you're wearing what I'm wearing. You are a copy of me. How are you doing better than me?
And like one thing that I do with the Mimic tier is I put a raw dumpling in my last consumable slot. And since if you eat it, it poisons you. But if the Mimic tier uses it, it doesn't poison the Mimic tier. And he constantly uses it without actually consuming the item. So my Mimic tier will constantly heal throughout the battle.
Yeah, Mimic tier
keeping them
and they're like, easy. They're amazing.
It's insane.
And I want to say this, Jeff, because I have a video I was going to make. I was debating on making it, but I'm going to do it because I'm tired of this crap. Folks, 1, do not listen to Asmongold. He's a moron.
Okay.
Yeah.
2, you play the game you want to play. Don't let people tell you how not to play the game. You want to use magic, use magic. You want to use your spirit ash, to use your Mimic tier, then do it. Do not let people tell you that using these abilities, these tools that From Software gave you is cheating, because they're not. They're in the game for a reason, for you to use. Fantastic. You can solo the boss and kill the boss without taking a hit. Fan-freaking-tastic, folks. Not everybody's like that. Stop telling people how to play the game and let them play the game how they want to play it. God.
And those are mechanics that are based in the game. Like Asmongold, isn't he the guy that accepted that like sponsorship for Like a Dragon from some Sega and then was like
didn't know what it was? Yes.
What is this? What's going on? Like, fucking idiot. But I mean, like, yeah, like it's a mechanic. Like using a Mimic tier is no different than dodging.
Yeah.
Using a Mimic tier is no different than using magic or your sword.
It's not like you're breaking the game to cheat the game. It's a mechanic that's built in.
Or this is the best one. This is the people that are being super hypercritical. You can't do that because that's cheating. Meanwhile, I'm using my super uber strength build with bleed. Excuse me? And that's okay? That you're essentially breaking the game. That's fine, right? All right.
Yeah. No, like that's the thing. It's like the Mimic tier is like something that was built into the game. It's an incredibly deep system in terms of like all the different spirit ashes that you can use. It is no different than equipping a spell and using it. Like if you could equip a spell that had you like a little companion or whatever that like shot things and stuff like that, it's no different. It's absolutely no different. And it's Elden Ring is a game about choice, and people are frustrated. Like purists are frustrated that those choices are so varied away from what traditional FromSoft games have essentially been, because
I'm
like
totally
Elden Ring is the type of game.
Huh? I'm totally not, because I again, big Souls guy here.
No, I'm talking about like the people that are gatekeeping.
Oh yeah,
like
screw those guys. But like every From Software game has given people the ability, well, more so in the later ones, the ability to do better in the game. Like Dark Souls 3 and I believe Dark Souls 2 had them as well. All the Dark Souls had them, where you could summon in an AI partner and it would do the work for you. And all the AI or spirit ashes summons are essentially, hey, I'm bringing another person to help me. It's no different than you brought another human to your game to play, or you summon a co-operator, or that's what they're called now. But basically, hey, I'm going to help you fight the boss. It's no different.
Yeah.
So why are you crying? Why are you complaining? Shut the heck up. Seriously, just stop.
We could spend all day speaking about this game, I feel like.
Well, this is what the Souls community does not need. I'm shut up. We don't need this. We've had to fight tooth and nail to get away from that toxic stigma that everybody had against the Souls community. And we showed them that, hey, we're not like this. We help people. We do stuff. Yes, there are some bad actors, but there's a lot more positive actors out there. And then we get these morons. We don't need that. I'm done.
Fair.
Yeah. No, like Shadow of the Erdtree is absolutely fantastic, and it is the type of game that is 100% 100% worth playing, even if you are not a Souls fan, because like again, this is the first FromSoft game that I've beaten in terms of like the base game, and I'm fucking rubbish at these games. Like I'm not the type of person that can really learn patterns and get better. I'll get marginally, but I'm not to the point where I'm making progress because I will always fuck up. I'll panic. I'll always have these moments, so I'm lucking out or cheesing most battles. Like Mog, basically, I did the jumping through the window thing, and he just stood there while I killed him. I'm like,
I remember a lot of people were
works for
doing that.
me.
It
Works for
works.
me. Yeah.
Nice.
But no, it's amazing.
Before we move on to other games, I have one more question for Keith. If I buy this game today on PC, are you going to play it with me?
I've been playing for everybody, so
I mean,
I don't know if I can play with you though.
I mean,
I would start over a new game to help you because I'm a new game now. I waited,
and
so
you
I
can
don't.
install that co-op mod as well too, I think.
Yeah.
because I feel
You
like
just can't play it online. You gotta go to their servers. But yeah,
I feel like because that's probably the way I do it now that I have my PC, which I will be writing about soon on Outerhaven.net actually. So if you're telling me that now you have time that you will play this game with me,
I've had time before.
I will.
Before the DLC came out, Jordan, I've been playing Elden Ring across every platform.
Wow.
Xbox,
Wow.
PlayStation, PC. I started playing it because whatever I wanted to play, and then afterwards people were like, I can't get through this boss. So all right, I'm gonna get a copy of this game. I'm gonna help you. Let's go.
That's how much of a fan Keith is, people. So Keith, you've obviously been playing a lot of that. Have you been playing anything else?
No.
Fair. Fair.
No.
Because Jeff, I know you have been playing something else, right?
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll talk about Chia at a different time, just so that we're not running too late. So originally we were going to record on Wednesday, so I couldn't talk about a certain game, but the embargo dropped yesterday on Trails Through Daybreak. Now, normally with NIS games, I've got them fairly early. This one, unfortunately, there was kind of a glitch on the end of receiving code, so I only got my code on the 23rd, so I've only had it for about 6 days, and then working a full-time job and only having 1 day off this week, I've been kind of putting some time into it, and thankfully I played the demo prior to it, so I had an extra 12 hours on there. I'm sitting at about 60 hours on it right now. I'm at the intermission before chapter 5, so I'm very, very far in the game. This is a brand new story arc that takes place following about 1.5 to 2 years after Trails of Reverie, which is where they finished the storyline that started with kind of Cold Steel, but kind of before that with the Trails, the Sky trilogy. But considering how focused it was on Reen and Lloyd, it was kind of a combination of Trails of Cold Steel 1 to 4, and then the Crossbell Saga. And this game it takes place in Kelvard, so the Republic of Kelvard, which was kind of like Erebonia was the previous 10 games. And the next however many games is going to be largely focused in Kelvard, which is kind of like there's Zemuria, and it's broken into essentially like Erebonia and then Kelvard, and then Crossbell is in the middle as an independent state. And it relies a lot on playing the Crossbell Saga, which they just they brought out to North America outside of Japan, mainly due to the fact that they had a fan community that translated those games, and then NIS doing the very un-Nintendo thing. They were like, thanks for doing the work. We're going to hire you. We're going to bring these games over, and they did. And those games are fantastic. Trails from Zero and Azure, like they were fan translated.
Nice.
Now, the localization for Trails Through Daybreak is the only part of the game that I'm like not on board with too much. And that is because the game tries to be very adult for adult's sake without earning it. There's a lot of vulgar language. The character Aaron, I think, is a bit meaner than he should be. And I think there's a lot of language that he uses that I think is completely unearned. The game also, like, two characters essentially go to a strip club, and you see these characters like dancing on poles and all that stuff, and it just doesn't feel like it works well within that game. But Trails Through Daybreak is a brand new storyline that takes place in Calvard, and it loosely ties itself to previous events. It talks about the Crossbell events quite frequently, but it is setting up its own thing. And essentially, you play as Van Arkwright, who is kind of an everyman type of like detective, Spriggan, and he essentially is more morally gray than Reen or Lloyd. He does things specifically just for money. He'll work for anybody as long as they don't cross his particular lines. So he kind of skirts the law. So the police don't like him. The Bracer Guild don't like him. But he's also the first protagonist in the series that literally knows everything and everyone. So the other characters around him act as a proxy for the player. So like they'll talk about events from the previous games, and Van's like, yeah, I remember that. I was there and blah, blah, blah. And like, even though he is new to the series, he has ties with everybody. And he's a very unique protagonist in that way. And then you have other, you have like Agnes, who's like the 16-year-old student that comes to him with a mission saying, hey, I need to find these like, 8 MacGuffins. And like, that's the storyline that kind of goes throughout there. And that storyline kind of ties into the machinations of like what's happening in Calvard. And this little mission has ramifications of the entire world, not just Calvard, because something big's at play. And there's like a new faction in Almada who's known as A, and they're essentially like this game's like Ouroboros, where they're like the major players. But even Ouroboros is like, fuck these guys, like, and you have for the first time a morality system where you can choose to either solve it in like lawful or like morally gray or chaotic. And if you go chaotic, it'll allow you to actually like align yourself with like an evil faction at the end, because like there's like a point in the game where you'll kind of pick a faction based off those choices, and that's what that system's about. I don't think it's fleshed out as it could be, because essentially it's kind of like report it to the police, solve it on your own. Like those are the choices in a lot of ways. But it's not like Mass Effect where you're making like choices that really feel like that morality system kind of works out, whether it's the Baragon or Renegade.
Yeah.
But it's also a game that uses a lot of the same systems, but reinvents them for Calvard, because you had like, it's weird. This is going to sound really fucked up, but your combat system and how your systems work are based on your cell phone. So they have these things where you have like your cell phone and you equip different gems and shards and things into it, and that's what powers you. So in the first game, you had a very similar system, but instead of like quartz, which are like these like master skills, you have things called hollows, which are like an AI for your phone. And then you still have quartz and shards and all these different things, but everything's been tailored to kind of have its own flavor, because it's Calvert's technology and not Erebonian's technology. So it's the same basic thing. You still have ornaments, which are like your skills and your abilities and things. Those things still play the same, but they have their own little twist on them that make it feel like this is a competitor's technology's take on something.
Yeah.
So it's like, Erebonia is PlayStation, and then like Calvert is Xbox. They both solve the same issues. They go about
Different
things
ways,
very, very differently.
That's cool.
But no, the combat's still turn-based. You have more options now where in terms of moving around. You have some real-time elements in terms of like, how in most games you can run around like an open world battlefield and you see the enemies and you can hit them and then you get like advantage. That's how the real-time combat system works. So you can like, even in the original Trails, like if you were overpowered, you could run up to an enemy, slash them, and kill them. It's like that. But you can go into battles turn-based, and it's one of those things where like, one thing I love about Trails is if you remember in Avengers Endgame, when they're all sitting around everything and like everything's all doom and gloom and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden Cap's like, here's like on your left, and then everybody shows up and it's just a big fight.
Yeah.
Trails has always been that on the left type of thing where characters will be like getting their ass handed, and then something's about to like fucking kill them, and then all of a sudden it's like, not so fast, and then someone shows up and you're like, it's that guy. Like that's every like half hour in this game.
Nice.
And that's how it's been, all that kind of stuff. So there's cameos from the previous games, and those will be more impactful if you've played the other ones.
Nice.
But if you've never played a Trails game, this is still a good one to jump on, because again, it is a brand new character, a brand new storyline, a brand new area.
Yeah.
But
and you will of course have a full review for it at some point.
Yeah,
so
my
look out
plan
for
is
that.
to have a review out tomorrow,
Nice.
because I've got about 10 hours left, and I'm gonna burn through that as fast as I possibly can.
Nice.
But unbelievable game. It's very, very good. I don't think it's gonna make my top 5 just because, again, like I don't think it does enough new.
Yeah.
Like it fine tunes things. I just don't think it does enough new to kind of warrant like how different Calvard is than Erebonia. Like I kind of wish that they took a little bit more bold choices, and maybe they will for a sequel, because like the second one was leaked. But like this game came out on Japan and on Japan like in 2021 or 2022, so it's been out for a while. It's just the localization to bring it here takes a little while. It is available on PS4, PS5, PC, and Switch. The Switch version is definitely the weakest in terms of it. I don't know if it's just the new engine that they're using that's not as fine-tuned.
Really?
Well, the other games ran fine on Switch. They looked good on Switch, but I think this new engine is not tailored to the Switch.
Well, I mean, it's almost like the Switch is going to have a new console at some point, right?
Yeah. But nope, absolutely fantastic game. Like the action and the characters and all that stuff are fantastic. Like there's one character that's literally like a superhero type of like Black Cat kind of character.
Nice.
And it's so funny because like you see them and you're like, oh, I know who that is. And they're like, yeah, all your little nightly duties. And the character's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like it's
fantastic.
It's charming. It is every bit as good as the previous games. I just think some tone issues do hold it back.
That's fair.
And
if you want another opinion on this game, I actually believe that one of mine and Keith's colleagues at the Outerhaven recently did a review for this game. Isn't that right, Keith?
Oh my God, Scott is gaga for this series. Like, oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, to me, it's my favorite JRPG series, and there's very few that actually like are one continuity.
So we will link the Outerhaven review of this game below, and then look out on our site analogstickgaming.com for Jeff's review at some point as well.
Sunday or Monday.
But this has been a really long episode. Might be our longest episode yet, but I feel like Keith Mitchell from the Outerhaven deserved that. He deserved his place to talk about Elden Ring for as long as he wanted to.
I need to start talking about it more elsewhere. I need to just get off my butt and just go, you know what? Let's go, Elden Ring. What do you want to know?
So as we get out of here, Keith, do you have anything you'd like to plug, and where can people find you and all that sort of thing?
I don't have anything to plug, but I do have one short thing so we can get out of here. I really like the fact that we're seeing a little bit of a shift in the gaming journalist space, when more independent sites are getting more recognition for what they are doing. And that's something that needs to continue to happen. You know, if you're hearing this podcast, you definitely need to check out more independent sites, just because the people that are there are busting their butts and they're doing something they love and they're putting their hearts and souls into this. It's not because, oh, hey, we're getting paid to check out games or whatnot. They're doing this because they love to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there are people.
And if
there are people out there that say you shouldn't do that, screw that. Do what you do. Do what you love.
If you're coming here from the Outerhaven as well, you may be familiar with me, of course. You might not know Jeff, but please follow this podcast. We try and do it every week whenever we're both fit and able to. And, you know, if you haven't seen the Outerhaven before, please go and follow Keith and everything the Outerhaven does. We'll link all of that below, because there's a reason that I still write over there as well, and that is I genuinely believe that the Outerhaven is one of the best independent sites that there is. And we aspire to be like you guys one day. So thank you for joining us, Keith, on our
Thank you
little
for having me.
podcast here.
No. Don't say little. Don't say little.
Well, hopefully
Everybody starts somewhere.
hopefully one day we'll be bigger. I obviously was on the Spectator Mode podcast as well recently, so that is the Outerhaven's gaming podcast, so you can go and check that out if you'd like to do so. Who knows, maybe Jeff will be on there one day.
That would be cool. You should have Jeff over there soon.
We never know what's gonna happen.
I'm always available.
We never know what's gonna happen with the collaboration.
I don't know what day you guys record.
I mean, we can sort that out for sure. Jeff will show up
yeah.
Jeff will show up in some place that you'll never know that he was even there. So so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to go and buy Elden Ring on PC and make Keith play it with me. But for now,
I mean, you don't have to make me play that game.
Yeah. Well, my roommate's out working right now, and like her Xbox is like right here, and she's like, I want my Xbox. I want to play Elden Ring so bad. And like, yeah, again, I've been playing essentially with randoms or my mimic here.
nice.
But yeah,
So basically,
It's
go and play
definitely-
Elden Ring. That's the message of this episode, is go and play Elden Ring. But for
Yes.
now, that's all we have to say, and we will see you next time, but it's a goodbye from me.